LoveLore Library. Chapter 1095. After finding Shinyushi's home phone number, Bao Sonli personally called her home and briefly explained what had happened. Although it was simple, it was enough to make Shinyushi's parents worry. Not long after, a middle-aged couple rushed to the hospital. They looked nervous but didn't dare to make a ruckus. It was obvious that they were very honest people. Even if something happened to their daughter, they didn't dare to make a ruckus. "Excuse me." The middle-aged woman found the emergency room on the second floor according to the location Bao Sonli said. She said carefully, "Who is President Bao? Auntie, are you Shinyushi's mother?" Looking at the middle-aged woman's trembling appearance, Yang Ming felt a pain in his heart. He quickly walked forward and held the middle-aged woman's hand. "Shinyushi is being resuscitated inside. Her life should not be in danger. How could this be? How could this be?" The middle-aged woman saw that she had found the right place and immediately looked at the emergency room. Seeing that the emergency room light was still on and that the operation was still in progress, she could not help but sigh. "I said at the beginning, there are too many bad people in the nightclub. Yushi should not go there, but you were not willing. Look at it now." The middle-aged man looked at the middle-aged woman and could not help but complain. "Something has happened, and you still blame me." The middle-aged woman was also very self-reproachful. "If it weren't for your incompetence and being laid off, would your daughter drop out of school to be a greeter?" The middle-aged woman's words made the man speechless. He lowered his head silently and took out a pack of cheap cigarettes from his pocket, but he was stopped by the nurse on the side. "Sir, this is the hospital. Smoking is not allowed." "Oh. I'm sorry. The man hurriedly put away the cigarettes and kept apologizing. "I didn't know. I'm really sorry." Seeing the middle-aged man like this, the nurse was a little embarrassed. She smiled slightly and said, "You can go to the special smoking area, but smoking is absolutely not allowed near the operating room." I won't smoke." The middle-aged man said hurriedly, "My daughter is inside." The nurse nodded and did not say anything. She turned around and went to do her own thing. Seeing this scene, Yang Ming sighed slightly in his heart. If he didn't know about this, how would this honest couple deal with it? If this wasn't an accident and someone was manipulating it behind the scenes, and the culprit behind the scenes had a powerful identity, perhaps they would have used money to settle this honest couple. After all, no one would want to cause trouble for such honest people. Just a little bit of intimidation would be enough to achieve the goal. And because of this matter, the originally happy family was torn apart, and they were in so much pain that they wished they were dead. The old couple had lost their daughter. What was the use of money? What the hell is going on? Who harmed my Yushi? After the middle-aged woman and middle-aged man finished complaining to each other, they began to look for someone to ask for the truth. However, from her somewhat bitter eyes, Yang Ming saw despair. Perhaps, in the eyes of the old couple, this matter itself couldn't be separated from the Nightless Club. However, the Nightless Club had a strong background. The old couple must have heard from their daughter about the identity of this President Bao. So, although they were eager to know the truth, they didn't dare to offend this big shot in front of them. Bao Sonli sighed and said, "Auntie, uncle, I am the general manager of the Nightless Club, Bao Sonli. You can rest assured. No matter who is involved in this matter, we will not let them go. Yushi is an employee of our Nightless Club. We have to be responsible for her." The old couple looked at Bao Sonli's sincere look and sighed slightly. How could they believe Bao Sonli's words? Don't those big bosses talk like this after something happens? And then, they just let it go in the end. The old couple now didn't ask to bring any bad guys to justice. Their only thought was to let Shinyushi recover so that she would never go to a place like the Nightless Club again. Seeing the confusion in the old couple's eyes, Yang Ming stepped forward and said, "Two elders, you can rest assured. President Bao is right. No matter who is involved, we will not let them go. If the law can't punish them, I will help you kill them." The two policemen who stayed in the hospital were Xia Shui's confidants. After the jewelry robbery case, they also faintly knew Yang Ming's other identity. So, in their opinion, Yang Ming had the capital to say this. After all, Yang Ming's identity was there. If the Supernatural Investigation Bureau wanted to intervene in the investigation, they didn't need to inform anyone. "Young man, you are." Shen Yushi's mother looked at Yang Ming and then looked at Bao Sanli. She felt that the two people didn't seem to be on the same side. Yang Ming was so young, and he didn't look like a leader, so she asked curiously. "I am a friend of Shen Yushi." Yang Ming hesitated and said. Now, if he said that he was Shen Yushi's big boss, they would definitely not trust him. It was better to say that he was Shen Yushi's friend. Yushi's friend? Shen Yushi's mother looked at Yang Ming up and down. She faintly guessed something. After all, Shen Yushi was in her youth. If a friend of the opposite sex who was about the same age as her suddenly appeared, it was inevitable that there would be other aspects of the association. Yes. I also work at the Nightless Club. I am Yushi's friend. Yang Ming said with a smile. He wasn't lying. The Nightless Club was originally Yang Ming's. It was normal for Yang Ming to say that he worked at the Nightless Club. Young man, then don't be impulsive. Shen Yushi's mother listened to Yang Ming and was even less suspicious. She quickly advised, "You can't do anything irrational because of Yushi's matter. Wouldn't that ruin your future?" "Don't worry, auntie. I know what I'm doing," said Yang Ming. "Then you tell me. What happened to Yushi? Is it serious?" Shen Yushi's mother had a good impression of Yang Ming. She had been here for so long, but she didn't know what happened to her daughter. Now that she saw that Yang Ming seemed to be a person who could tell the truth, she asked. "Yushi went back after work. When she went upstairs in your house, I don't know who she had an argument with, and then she suddenly fell off the building." Yang Ming sighed and said, "Because Yushi is still in surgery, I can't know other things. Everything can only be decided after the surgery is over." "Ah!" Shen Yushi's mother exclaimed after listening to Yang Ming's words, "Fell off the building. So serious." Previously, Bao Sanli only said that Shen Yushi had an accident and was injured. He didn't say it in detail. Shen Yushi's parents thought that Shen Yushi was beaten up or most likely raped by a guest, but her life wouldn't be in danger. However, they didn't expect that she would fall off the building. That was a life-threatening situation. Shen Yushi's parents suddenly showed horror on their faces. How could this happen? Who wants to murder Yushi? I don't know about this. We can only wait for the police to investigate," said Yang Ming helplessly. Shen Yushi's parents were silent when they heard that they needed to investigate. Although they were honest, they weren't stupid. Since the other party dared to do this, it showed that the other party's background was very strong, and they were fearless. It wasn't that they hadn't encountered such a thing before. Before they were laid off, the son of a deputy director of the Yenching electrocarbon factory played with a young female worker in the factory. As a result, the female worker lost a lot of blood, and she couldn't even have children in the future. In the end, didn't they compromise under the threat and temptation of the deputy director? After taking 200,000 yuan from the deputy director, the matter was left unsettled. They heard that she later became the mistress of the deputy director's son. In their eyes, the deputy director was already a big shot. They didn't even dare to think about someone like Bao Sanli who could call the wind and summon the rain. However, the people who Shen Yushi usually contacted were all people who came to the Nightless Club to have fun. Such people were either big bosses or powerful people. How could they provoke them? Xia Shue's efficiency was very fast. Now, Yang Ming also understood Xia Shue's background. No wonder this girl was so strong and didn't care about anyone. It turned out that she had Xia Bingbao's protection. The two of them appeared as witnesses because the conflict was limited to Xia Wenjin and Shen Yushi. They were all bystanders. Although Xia Shui was very skeptical about the authenticity of what Li Meiyao said, there was no way to do anything in this case. Everything could only wait and see. When Xia Shui told this result to the two police officers in the hospital, the police officers told Shen Yushi's parents about the incident. Shen Yushi's parents sighed as if they had expected this result. Shen Yushi hooked up with a rich man. Why didn't we know? Besides, isn't Yushi's boyfriend Yang Ming? Through the conversation, they already knew Yang Ming's name and misunderstood that Yang Ming was Shen Yushi's boyfriend. After all, if Yang Ming had nothing to do with Shen Yushi, it was impossible for him to rush around and comfort them. If he was just an ordinary friend, he could not avoid this matter. How could he come forward? Also, Yang Ming's words that he wanted to kill the behind-the-scenes murderer made Shen Yushi's parents even more convinced. Otherwise, what did it have to do with Yang Ming? Why was Yang Ming so angry that he wanted to kill the bad guy? What they didn't know was that it was very easy for Yang Ming to kill the behind-the-scenes murderer. The two police officers also smiled bitterly. They did not expect this result, but with the intervention of the famous lawyer, Li Meiyao, this result was not unusual. Now, let's go back to the police station together. The person involved, Xia Wenjin, is also there. If there are any problems, we can talk about it face to face, said the police officer to Shen Yushi's parents. Shen Yushi's parents were more concerned about Shen Yushi's condition than the murderer. After all, the other party had completely shirked the responsibility. Even if they went, what could they do? Let's go and take a look, Yang Ming stood up and said faintly. In Yang Ming's eyes, lawyer Li Meiyao was bullshit. As long as he was unhappy, he would directly kick him in the head. Yang Ming naturally knew about the illegal dealings between some illegal lawyers and criminal suspects, so he naturally had to go personally to see who this Xia Wenjin was. Then, old man, let's go and take a look. With Yang Ming here, it will be easier to confront. Shen Yushi's mother was more flexible than her father. She wanted to see if there was any possibility of turning the situation around. However, in the parking lot in front of the hospital, Shen Yushi's parents were really surprised. They thought that Yang Ming was also a worker like Shen Yushi, but they did not expect that Yang Ming would have his own car. Although they did not know the brand of the car did not look like a cheap car. Yang Ming, this car is. After getting in the car, Shen Yushi's mother couldn't help but ask. It's mine. Yang Ming did not deny it and said, actually, but it's nothing. I belong to the company's top management like Shen Yushi. It's just that Shen Yushi has just been promoted to foreman and doesn't have much money. Yang Ming's explanation was not wrong. He was originally a company's top management. The foreman of the Nightless Club had a monthly salary of more than 30,000 yuan. It was not uncommon to buy a BMW in a few years, and there was also a year-end bonus. It was just that Shen Yushi had just been promoted to foreman for less than a month, so she had not received her salary yet. After listening to Yang Ming's explanation, Shen Yushi's mother also remembered that Shen Yushi seemed to have said on the day she was promoted to foreman that the monthly salary could be more than 10,000 yuan. At first, she thought that Shen Yushi was just saying it, but she did not expect it to be true. Yang Ming drove the car and followed behind the police car in front, heading in the direction of the police station. That Xia Wenjin is. Do you know him? In the car, Shen Yushi's mother asked carefully. I don't know him. I haven't heard of him. Who knows where this birdman came from? But, Auntie, don't worry. If this matter is really related to him, I will never let him go. Yang Ming said firmly. Although Shin Yushi had no specific relationship with him, Yang Ming had encountered this matter. If Yang Ming did not care, he would feel uneasy. Indeed, there were many unfair things in this world. Yang Ming could not manage it even if he wanted to. However, Yang Ming did not know about those things, so out of sight, out of mind. If Yang Ming knew about it, then he could not ignore it. It's all Yushi's fault. I said, why does she always dress up? Now, there is a disaster. Connecting the incident before and after, Shin Yushi's mother naturally understood that it must be because of Shin Yushi's beauty that caused the trouble. Hee, Auntie. Yang Ming smiled and said, which girl doesn't love beauty? This age is the age to dress up. It can't be her fault. If Qin Mengyan or Zhou Jiajia dressed up, or if Sun Jia dressed more sexily, no one would dare to provoke them, right? If a beautiful girl did not have a strong backer, it was indeed a headache. After all, there were too many people who coveted beauty and took risks. Yang Ming didn't know what the background of this Xiao Wenjin was, but since Yang Ming met him, Yang Ming had to teach him a lesson even if he didn't die. Of course, this referred to the situation where it really had nothing to do with him. If what he said was a lie, then Yang Ming would make him feel very comfortable. In an office in the police station, Yang Ming saw the legendary Xiao Wenjin and couldn't help but be stunned. It is actually him. Yang Ming was also very familiar with the two people beside him. One was Qi Jida, who was with Xiao Wenjin, and the other was the vice president of the school's taekwondo club, Lu Xiaojun. When Yang Ming saw these three people, his heart was disgusted. These people were not good people. Yang Ming had no doubt in his heart. If there was no problem in this matter, Yang Ming would not believe it. Chapter 1096. The Yinqing Electrocarbon Factory was just a private enterprise. Shin Yushi's mother was a temporary cleaner here, and Shin Yushi's father was directly laid off in the layoff storm. Xiao Wenjin's lawyer, Li Meiyao, had investigated these things in advance, so he was basically fearless. Never mind that Shin Yushi's parents were such low-level people, even the small leaders of the factory were not a problem. After knowing that the Shin family did not have a strong background, Li Meiyao dared to help Xiao Wenjin mess around. Otherwise, Li Meiyao was not stupid. Although he could get a large commission by doing this kind of thing, if he did not handle it well, even he would be implicated. After all, Li Meiyao would not be allowed to participate in the battle between the real powerful people of Songjiang. Li Meiyao also knew himself, so he did not dare to participate. When he came to the police station and learned that Shin Yushi was the foreman of the Nightless Club, he suddenly frowned. He looked at Xiao Wenjin with some anger. Wasn't she just a greeter? How did she become the foreman? Although the foreman was not a big figure in Li Meiyao's eyes, it also depended on where the foreman was from. Was the Nightless Club's foreman so easy to provoke? In this matter, if the Nightless Club's higher-ups wanted to intervene, then Li Meiyao would not be able to bear the consequences. Li Meiyao usually dealt with those ruthless bosses. He knew the means of these people. Now, he had to face Bao Sonli, who was even more ruthless than these people. If people wanted to mess with you, they did not need to reason with you at all. A reason of not being pleasing to the eye was enough. They could directly find someone to beat you until you were paralyzed. Therefore, after Li Meiyao heard about Shin Yushi's identity, he was also a little scared. While waiting for Shin Yushi's parents to come, Li Meiyao didn't have much confidence in his heart. He didn't know if Bao Sonli would follow. However, when he saw a young man walking in with a middle-aged couple, he was relieved. He naturally knew Bao Sonli, but he didn't know the young man in front of him. Xia Shui didn't expect Yang Ming to come. After seeing Yang Ming, she nodded to Yang Ming as a greeting. Then, she pointed to Li Meiyao and Xiao Wenjin and said, "This is Xiao Wenjin and his lawyer, Mr. Li Meiyao. Kid, your name is Xiao Wenjin." Yang Ming waved his hand. Without waiting for Xiao Shui to finish speaking, he walked in front of Xiao Wenjin, reached out and lifted him up from his seat, and said with a sneer, "You, what are you going to do?" Xiao Wenjin was shocked. He didn't expect to meet Yang Ming here. The scene of Yang Ming kicking the car door was still vivid in his mind. He was afraid of this kind of violence from the bottom of his heart. Xiao Shui knew Yang Ming's style. She wanted to stop it, but she was helpless when she thought of Yang Ming's special identity. "Cousin, save me," Lu Zhaojun was also full of cold sweat. Seeing Li Meiyao's miserable appearance, he was also scared. It seemed that Yang Ming had already been very merciful in the ring before. Otherwise, Li Jiaxing and Ren Jianren would not be much stronger than Li Meiyao. Lu Zhaojun didn't dare to be rash. He lowered his head and pretended not to hear. "So you are this kid's cousin?" Yang Ming turned his head and looked at Lu Zhaojun jokingly. Lu Zhaojun's head lowered even lower, fearing that Yang Ming would turn the attack target to him. "You dare to say that you are Shen Yushi's boyfriend? How come I don't know?" Yang Ming tried to make himself look rough and evil, but he also had a sense of propriety. Although he didn't care about anything with his current identity, it was best not to kill people in the police station casually. Then, Xiao Bingbao would not be able to deal with the aftermath. Therefore, what Yang Ming wanted to do was to destroy Xiao Wenjin mentally. I don't need to tell you about Shen Yushi and me." Xiao Wenjin also thought that they were in the police station now. Yang Ming shouldn't dare to do anything to him, so he said stubbornly in fear. "Really? If you are Shen Yushi's boyfriend, then what am I?" Yang Ming smiled faintly. He grabbed Xiao Wenjin's neck and put him in front of the window on the side. He opened the window and pushed Xiao Wenjin's head out directly. "Do you believe that I will throw you out?" Xiao Wenjin shuddered. He was suddenly scared. He secretly regretted it in his heart. This guy is actually Shen Yushi's boyfriend. Could it be that Shen Yushi's backer is him? It is very possible. This kid drives a BMW. His family must be very rich. If I knew that I would provoke him, I wouldn't have listened to Lu Zhaojun's words and done those things. Seeing Xiao Wenjin's inner thoughts, Yang Ming smiled coldly. Sure enough, this guy did it. It seems that I really didn't wrong him. Yang Ming's previous series of rude behavior was to make Xiao Wenjin feel psychological fear and nervous. In this way, Yang Ming could smoothly see Xiao Wenjin's inner thoughts. Although Yang Ming suspected that Xiao Wenjin did it, there was no evidence. Now, Yang Ming could be 100% sure that Xiao Wenjin did it. Yang Ming pulled Xiao Wenjin down from the windowsill and threw him on the ground. At this time, Xiao Wenjin was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He sat on the ground as if he had collapsed. He gasped for breath. Yang Ming originally wanted to deal with Xiao Wenjin in private, but he thought that this matter had already alarmed the police. It was more appropriate to leave it to the police to deal with. After all, if something happened to Xiao Wenjin at this time, the first suspect would be himself. Yang Ming didn't want to cause any trouble for Xiao Bingbao. Now, the two people were just in a cooperative relationship. Yang Ming didn't want to owe him too much and bind himself. Once he owed too many favors, then he wouldn't know how to repay them. When the matter calmed down, Xiao Wenjin would be in prison. Wouldn't he be at Yang Ming's mercy? He can't be released from prison, right? Although this matter was bad, it was not enough to sentence him to death. After he was released, there were ways to deal with him. In other words, it would be better if he could be sentenced to death. He would not have to do it himself. Yang Ming walked out of the office under the inexplicable gazes of Li Meiyao and Shen Yushi's parents. They didn't expect Yang Ming to be all bark and no bite. He just threatened Xia Wenjin with a few words and left him aside. Could it be that Yang Ming was just bluffing? He didn't dare to act rashly in the police station. Was it just to vent his anger? Li Meiyao thought so in his heart and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. After Yang Ming went out, he found Xia Shui directly. "How is it? Did you find anything?" Xia Shui knew Yang Ming's identity. If Yang Ming helped solve the case, it would be twice the result with half the effort. "Yes," Yang Ming said faintly. The whole thing was done by Xia Wenjin. With that said, Yang Ming told Xia Shui the whole story and how Li Meiyao instigated Xia Wenjin and others to tamper with the testimony. The more Xia Shui listened, the more she frowned, but her eyes were shining with excitement. If what Yang Ming said was true, then this was probably a good opportunity to get rid of Li Meiyao, the unscrupulous lawyer. "Are these all true?" Xia Shui asked after listening to Yang Ming's words. Yang Ming nodded and said affirmatively, "It's true. You separate these 4 people and interrogate them separately. You use the fact that the other 3 people have confessed as a lure. Reveal what I said before to everyone. I don't believe that they won't tell the truth." In fact, this was also a common technique used in interrogations. It was often mentioned in TV dramas. The police made the criminal suspect mistakenly think that his accomplice had confessed, and let them put down their psychological defense and confess truthfully. If this trick was used well, it would get twice the result with half the effort. However, there was a condition before it was used. That was, the police had a lot of criminal facts. In today's situation, if there was no Yang Ming, it would be impossible to use this trick. However, Yang Ming had the ability to detect other people's thoughts. All these impossible things became possible. Xia Shui understood that Yang Ming had extraordinary abilities and means. Otherwise, he wouldn't have joined the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Moreover, Xia Shui also knew the rules. It was common for the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to assist in a case, but the process of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's case was extremely confidential. Although Xia Shui was curious, she wouldn't ask much. "Okay, I will start the interrogation immediately." Xia Shui nodded and said excitedly. With Yang Ming's help and support, then everything was easy. Even if the bureau chief asked, there was also Yang Ming as a shield. With this information, if Xia Shui still couldn't ask anything, then there was a problem with her ability. However, Yang Ming wasn't worried about this. He still believed in Xia Shui. If Xia Shui really didn't have the ability, she wouldn't be sitting in her current position. In the criminal investigation team, it was difficult for an incompetent person to be the leader. Once this happened, then it would be difficult to carry out the work in the future. The bureau chief wouldn't let this happen. Under the leadership of Xia Shui, several police officers entered the office. Without saying anything, they controlled Xia Wenjin, Li Meiyao, Lu Zhaojun, and Qi Zhida and escorted them out of the office. Li Meiyao was shocked. "What are you doing?" "I'm a lawyer. You have no right to do this to me." Xia Shui smiled slightly. "You are a lawyer now. No one can guarantee that you won't be a lawyer later." With Yang Ming's intervention, Xia Shui wasn't afraid of anything. Anyway, if something happened, Yang Ming would take care of it. If Yang Ming couldn't handle it, there was still her elder brother. Of course, Xia Shui had nothing to fear. Seeing the 4 people being escorted out of the office, this scene made Shen Yushi's parents very surprised. Wasn't it just an accident? How come in the blink of an eye, these 4 people were taken away as if they were criminals? The police have obtained new evidence. Now we can roughly judge that Xia Wenjin is the murderer who hurt Yushi. Yang Ming explained to Shin Yushi's parents. Ah. Shin Yushi's parents were a little overwhelmed. However, they could also think that all of this should be due to Yang Ming. Otherwise, how could things suddenly take a turn for the better? Although they didn't know what Yang Ming did, Shin Yushi's parents were still very grateful to Yang Ming. Little Yang, thank you. Shin Yushi's mother said with some excitement. If it weren't for Yang Ming, how could things be solved so smoothly? I didn't do anything. This is the result of Captain Xiao's efforts. Yang Ming smiled and waved his hand. He naturally wouldn't admit any credit. Then, let's thank Captain Xiao. Shin Yushi's mother hesitated and asked. It's not too late to thank her after the case comes to light. Let's go back to the hospital first. The most important thing is that Shin Yushi wakes up, said Yang Ming. That's right, that's right. When Shin Yushi was mentioned, Shin Yushi's parents immediately showed a worried look. On this side, although the murderer of Shin Yushi had been brought to justice, Shin Yushi was not out of danger yet. In contrast, Shin Yushi being safe and sound was what the two elders wanted the most. After Yang Ming greeted Xia Shui, he rushed back to the Songjiang First People's Hospital with the two elders. Chapter 1097. Li Meiyao felt that his hands were trembling, and his face became extremely ugly. This is impossible. How is this possible? This is not true. On the file, the matter of him instigating Xia Wenjin to import the confession was written word for word in the file. If Xia Wenjin or others hadn't confessed, it was impossible to know so much based on the police's guess. It wasn't the first time that Li Meiyao had committed fraud in a lawsuit, but it was the first time that he was seen through. He couldn't figure it out. How did Xia Wenjin escape so quickly? Didn't he know what was waiting for him after he told the truth? If this case of attempted rape causing disability was really judged, it would be at least 5 to 10 years in prison. He was a lawyer, so he was very clear in his heart. Moreover, this was still the case when the victim was not dead. If the victim was dead, then the sentence would not necessarily be decided. Originally, Li Meiyao didn't take this lawsuit seriously. Shin Yushi's family had no background. She was just a small character. At that time, he would ask Xia Wenjin's father to give her family a lot of money. He believed that it would be easy to settle. However, in this, Li Meiyao didn't expect the appearance of Yang Ming. Who is this person? What role does he play in the whole incident? Li Meiyao had been in the Songjiang legal circle for so many years, but he had never seen this person. However, it seemed that Yang Ming was very familiar with the police, even too familiar. Li Meiyao had a bad feeling. It seemed that Yang Ming was also a person on the police's side. When this thought came out, he suddenly frowned. There is no possibility or impossible. The situation has been written very clearly. You can see it yourself. Xia Shui pointed to the file of the case and said, "Are you illiterate?" Li Meiyao didn't speak. He looked at the file in front of him with cold sweat. The details of the case written in it even made Li Meiyao a little scared. Isn't this too detailed? Even the details of the conversation between him and Xia Wenjin were clearly written in it. After reading the entire case file, Li Meiyao knew that he was finished. As a lawyer, he participated in fraud. It was not a problem to be sentenced to 1 or 2 years in prison. Most importantly, his future as a lawyer was ruined. In the future, there would be no more opportunities to collect dirty money. However, since it had already come to this point, there was no other way. Anyway, he had received enough black money in the past. Even if he stopped being a lawyer, he would definitely not starve to death in the future. I have nothing to say. Li Meiyao said lightly. He didn't want to argue. He was a lawyer, and he knew this very well. In the face of absolute evidence, any debate was meaningless. Then you're sure that everything written here is true? Xia Shui asked happily. She didn't expect that the evidence Yang Ming gave her would be so shocking. After Li Meiyao saw it, he didn't even try to defend himself before admitting his guilt. I don't know what happened earlier. Li Meiyao naturally wanted to shirk the responsibility that he could. He said, I was the one who instigated Xia Wenjin and the others to say that. In other words, you haven't figured out the truth yet, but you helped the person tamper with the confession? Xia Shui asked. Li Meiyao nodded. He couldn't deny this point. There was nothing to refute. However, it wasn't enough to convict him of a serious crime just based on this. He signed the confession directly, and Xia Shui quickly ended the interrogation. Xia Shui was really shocked. She had been a police officer for so long, but she had never encountered such a smooth interrogation work. If Yang Ming participated in every interrogation, wouldn't her future work be successful? However, Xia Shui just thought about it. Yang Ming couldn't have so much time to help her. Even if he did, it was impossible for him to help. After all, she still had to rely on herself. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if she became dependent on him. On the other side, Xia Wenjin's interrogation was even smoother. After a little intimidation, he said that Qi Zhida had already confessed, and the same transcript was shown to Xia Wenjin. Xia Wenjin collapsed. Originally, he didn't want to confess. He held the principle of holding on as long as he could, and he was in a stalemate. After all, if this matter was really put on the table, it would be a big deal. He also knew that it was impossible for him not to go to jail. Therefore, Xia Wenjin initially wanted to repeat what Li Meiyao told him. Who didn't know how to repeat the same words? Anyway, he didn't want to talk about the main point. But he didn't expect that Qi Zhida and Lu Xiaojun actually confessed. Before Xia Wenjin saw the case record, he thought that the police were scaring him. But when he saw the case record, he was completely dumbfounded. Isn't what is written on it the truth? Not a single detail is missing. Xia Wenjin was so angry that he only wanted to curse. Motherfucker, I promised before that I wouldn't say anything even if I were to die. Now, it's great. I haven't been in the police station for half an hour, and I already said everything. If you say it, do you think you are fine? You are also an accomplice. Thinking of this, Xia Wenjin told Lu Xiaojun's dirty trick, and the whole plan was planned by Lu Xiaojun. When the police officer who recorded Xia Wenjin's statement heard what Xia Wenjin said, he suddenly became spirited. These things were not written in this file. If what Xia Wenjin said was true, then Lu Xiaojun was also an accomplice. Lu Xiaojun and Qi Zhida were easier to interrogate. The two people's matter was not big. At most, they were just accomplices. Seeing that Xia Wenjin confessed, then they didn't need to insist. They directly said it. At this point, a somewhat complicated case with the participation of a lawyer was easily solved before the victim woke up. Of course, Yang Ming's contribution couldn't be ignored, but only Xia Shui knew it in her heart. Others admired Xia Shui's ability to calculate, but they didn't know that this was actually provided by Yang Ming. Xia Wenjin probably never dreamed that the reason why his matter was exposed was entirely because of himself. If his thoughts weren't probed by Yang Ming, the truth wouldn't be revealed so quickly. He was still complaining and scolding Qi Zhida and Lu Xiaojun for not being loyal. It was ridiculous. Things were unusually smooth. After the case was solved, Xia Shui immediately notified Yang Ming. As for how the case would be judged and what kind of punishment Xia Wenjin and the others would receive, it was not up to Xia Shui to decide. This result was also expected by Yang Ming. Yang Ming didn't believe that anyone's psychological quality would be so good. After he wrote down what he did, it would be a bit unbelievable if he still didn't admit it. Yang Ming hadn't met such a person yet. From a normal point of view, it was impossible to guess so accurately. Therefore, Li Meiyao didn't even suspect that there was a trick and pleaded guilty. Hanging up the phone, Yang Ming sighed. Even if Xia Wenjin and the others were punished by the law, so what? Can it be exchanged for Shen Yushi's health? Obviously, it was impossible. Xia Wenjin has confessed. He tried to rape Yushi but failed, causing Yushi to jump off the building. Yang Ming told the truth to Shen Yushi's parents, who were sitting in the back of the car. Although this result was a bit heavy, it was necessary to let Shen Yushi's parents know. After all, this result was already very gratifying for them. Sure enough, after Yang Ming said this, Shen Yushi's parents suddenly showed a surprised expression. They didn't expect the matter to be solved so quickly. The truth of the matter was actually similar to what they thought. A beautiful girl inexplicably jumped off a building, and there were traces of her pants being torn. What other reason could there be? Shen Yushi's parents were still very gratified that Xia Wenjin could be punished by the law. Originally, when they saw the hypocritical smile of lawyer Li Meiyao, they even thought that this case was hopeless. They didn't expect the tables to turn. In less than an hour, Xia Wenjin pleaded guilty. When they returned to the hospital, Shen Yushi had been pushed out of the operating room, but she was still in the intensive care unit. Although she was out of danger, she had not yet woken up. Although Shen Yushi's life was not in danger, they got very unfortunate news from the doctor. Shen Yushi's lumbar spine was seriously injured, and it may lead to paralysis of the lower body. When they heard the news, Shen Yushi's parents' bodies obviously trembled, but Shen Yushi's father was more optimistic. Forget it, old woman. It's good that our daughter's life is not in danger. If she is paralyzed, then let her be paralyzed. We will just take care of her. It's good that we don't have to go out to attract bees and butterflies and cause trouble. Shen Yushi's mother nodded silently. Now, this was the only way. She didn't know what to do about Shen Yushi's medical expenses. The subsequent medical expenses would definitely not be small. So, she asked timidly, "Little Yang, did police officer Xia say that Xia Wenjin can compensate Yushi with some money?" "There will definitely be civil compensation attached to this, but it won't be a lot. It's probably about 100,000. Yang Ming told Shen Yushi's parents what Xia Shui said to him. Then, when will the compensation be paid? Yushi needs money to stay in the hospital now. Shen Yushi's mother said with some worry. You mean this? Yang Ming suddenly understood. Originally, Yang Ming was surprised that Shen Yushi's mother was so concerned about the compensation. Her daughter was injured like this. What was the use of the compensation? However, now that the association mentioned the situation of Shen Yushi's family, it was not surprising that Shen Yushi's mother was worried. After all, Shen Yushi's family was in a difficult situation. Shen Yushi's subsequent medical expenses were definitely not low. It was not something they could afford. Thinking of this, Yang Ming quickly said, "You don't have to worry about the money. Shen Yushi is a foreman in the Nightless Club. She is also a middle-level leader. The company will pay for her medical expenses." Ah. She has only been a foreman for a few days. She has not been promoted. Can the company care so much? Shen Yushi's mother was stunned. Apparently, she did not expect that the Nightless Club would bear the medical expenses. Not to mention a nightclub-like company like the Nightless Club, even those multinational companies often did not care about the medical expenses of their employees. Moreover, Shen Yushi had only been a foreman for a few days. She had not even signed a contract. Can the company care? Naturally, they can care. Yang Ming smiled and glanced at Bao Sanli next to him. Bao Sanli got Yang Ming's signal and quickly said, "This is the company's rule. We are a legitimate company. We keep our word." How can we not care? Auntie, uncle, you can rest assured. We will take the money that Shinyushi spent. Not a penny less. This. Shinyushi's mother felt that Shinyushi's medical expenses should not be paid by the Nightless Club. They were also reasonable people. This matter had nothing to do with the Nightless Club. The place where it happened was not the Nightless Club, so even if it was a lawsuit, the Nightless Club was not afraid. However, Bao Sonli took the initiative to bear the matter and bear all the subsequent medical expenses. Then, Xia Wenjin's compensation could be regarded as Shinyushi's nutrition fee. Shinyushi's mother would not have too much psychological burden. However, the money Yang Ming took was his own money. How could Shinyushi's mother accept it? Yushi is my girlfriend. She has an accident. Naturally, I have to buy something for her. Yang Ming smiled and said, "It's just that I am busy with work, so I can only trouble you." Yang Ming sighed in his heart. This was also a white lie. Anyway, when he was at the police station, Shinyushi's parents had heard him say it once. This. Indeed, when they were at the police station, Shinyushi's parents also heard Yang Ming's words. They thought that Shinyushi had an accident that might lead to paralysis. Even if Yang Ming was Shinyushi's boyfriend, it was impossible for him to be the same as before. After all, who would find a paralyzed girl to be his girlfriend? Moreover, it could be seen that Yang Ming had a successful career at a young age. Such a boy, what kind of girl couldn't he find? Why would he want a disabled person? Therefore, when Yang Ming took out 50,000 yuan, Shinyushi's mother was so surprised. What was even more surprising was that Yang Ming actually emphasized that Shinyushi was his girlfriend. Bao Sonli secretly despised Yang Ming in his heart. Damn, she is obviously your girlfriend, but you insist that she isn't. Now you finally admit it, right? However, he only despised him in his heart. He didn't dare to say it, and he was very fortunate that he had been dealing with this matter very seriously. Outside the hospital, Yang Ming's mood was a little upset. Although the matter was handled satisfactorily, a girl in her prime might have to sit in a wheelchair for a lifetime. After knowing this result, Yang Ming was even more unwilling to let go of Xia Wenjin. No matter what Xia Wenjin's final judgment was, Yang Ming would not let him have an easy time. Fong Tian sent a message from Country X's General Kars, asking the Black Butterfly organization to prepare to carry out the assassination of his political enemy. As long as it was successful, all rewards were negotiable. General Kars really couldn't sit still. He also knew in his heart that he was in the stage of recuperation. Some of his political enemies were also waiting for the opportunity to make a move. General Kars lived in fear every day. In fact, he also knew that it was only a matter of time before he was ousted, but everyone had a fluke mentality. They would hold on for as long as they could. In his opinion, as long as he could pay a high enough reward, he could assassinate all his political enemies, so that he could sit firmly in the position of the president. However, there was no end to political enemies. After one political enemy was assassinated, another one would emerge. Even if he could assassinate them, in the end, all the available resources in Country X would be given out as rewards. What was the point of a president without an army? Chapter 1098. When Yang Ming received Fong Tian's call, he was lying on Wang Xiaoyan's bed and making out with her. These days, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun were busy with the company's affairs, and Xiao Qing's experimental project was not over yet. She was very busy. Zhou Jiejie, the obedient assistant class monitor, naturally had to stay in the school's dormitory to set an example. Besides, the relationship between Yang Ming and her was limited to kissing and hugging. It would be awkward if they were out alone. Sun Jia was still in Donghai. According to her, something happened at home. On the night of Shin Yushi's accident, Sun Jia returned a call to Yang Ming. It was very late at that time, about 11 o'clock in the evening. However, Yang Ming was a little upset because of Shin Yushi's incident, so he didn't sleep. Xiao Qing's call came in. Yang Ming glanced at the caller ID and picked up the phone. "Hello, dear, why did you call me back so late?" Yang Ming asked with a tired voice. Sun Jia noticed that Yang Ming's mood didn't seem to be very good, so she didn't care much about his dear. Instead, she said, "Today, it snowed on the highway again. I was stuck for more than 3 hours. After returning home, I felt a little tired, so I slept. I didn't expect to wake up at 11 o'clock. Your dad hasn't slept yet. He answered my call before." Yang Ming was a little surprised about Sun Hongjuan's resting time. Sun Jia woke up at 11 o'clock. Did he not sleep until 11 o'clock? Oh, you're talking about your previous call. My dad has already rested. Third uncle told me that he hasn't rested yet. Sun Jia said, "Why are you looking for me? The jewelry exhibition is over." Yang Ming said, "I wanted to report to you, but since you have gone back, let's talk about it when we meet." "Are you really going to report to me about the exhibition?" Sun Jia's tone was a little playful, as if she saw through Yang Ming's mind. Yang Ming suddenly blushed and said, "It can also improve our relationship as husband and wife. But those are all subsidiary." After Sun Jia heard it, she smiled and said, "I don't think you are so honest. Is the jewelry exhibition going well? I read about the robbery in the newspaper, but there should be more to come, right?" And, you guessed it right. Just this morning, they launched the final blow. As Yang Ming spoke, he told the story of the black-shirt man sneaking into the exhibition center to steal the treasures. He talked about how he was careless and let people move the jewelry. However, Yang Ming did not say that he monitored all of this through his special ability. Instead, he vaguely said that he set up a spy. Fortunately, Sun Jia did not ask much about these small details. After listening to Yang Ming's words, she said sarcastically, "This is the consequence of being arrogant. Let's see if you are still arrogant in the future." Xiao Qing went to research a topic these days, and the graduate class was suspended. Sun Jia said, "Moreover, there is a small matter in my family. I came back to deal with it. What's the matter?" "Do you need my help?" asked Yang Ming. "No need. If I can't handle it myself, I will ask you for help." Sun Jia smiled. However, listening to the tone, it was also a joke because Sun Jia didn't think that Yang Ming would help with something that she couldn't handle. Yang Ming sighed and didn't say anything. He thought to himself, "Sooner or later, you will worship me to death." "Okay, then when you return to Songjiang, let's meet and talk," said Yang Ming. "And, let's meet and talk. I just woke up and sweated a little. I feel a little uncomfortable. I'm going to take a shower," said Sun Jia. For a few days, Yang Ming hadn't contacted Sun Jia. He didn't know how she was handling the matter in Donghai, but he believed that with Sun Jia's ability, there should be nothing that could trouble her. Struggling to pick up the phone from the bedside table, little girl Wang's energy is really not ordinary. Yang Ming sighed. Being an assassin is different. Her physical strength and endurance are super strong. Fortunately, I am also a person in this field. Otherwise, I would be tortured to death by little girl Wang. This little girl is also very feminist. She always likes to play with men on top. Fortunately, my skills are better than hers. Otherwise, wouldn't I be bullied to death? Hey, old man, why are you looking for me? Is there news over there? Yang Ming already knew that Karsi in Africa's country X was going to let him do it. He came to Wang Xiaoyan's place. In addition to learning from Wang Xiaoyan on cooperation tacit understanding, he mainly studied this mission. Well, on the 15th of this month, you will leave for Africa. I will arrange your itinerary, said Fang Tian simply. Damn, my birthday is on the 14th, and we are leaving on the 15th. Aren't you too cruel? Yang Ming smiled bitterly after listening. Then, are you going or not? Fang Tian smiled. Go. Of course, I am going. Yang Ming said helplessly, are we going by water or by plane? Water. First, smuggle into Vietnam. I will arrange a plane there, and then fly directly to Africa's country X, said Fang Tian. There may be a change of planes in the middle of the way, but you don't have to worry about it. Okay, I understand. Yang Ming nodded after listening. Smuggling into Vietnam was a relatively easy thing. They could go directly from the Red River in Baishan. Of course, the Red River was the name of Vietnam. This side was called Yuanjiang. Yang Ming's phone call woke up Wang Xiaoyan, who had just fallen asleep. She opened her sleepy eyes. Wang Xiaoyan looked at Yang Ming and said, are we going out for the mission? And, we will leave on the 15th. Are you okay with it? Yang Ming nodded and asked. Naturally, there is no problem. Wang Xiaoyan listened to Yang Ming's affirmative answer. She shook her head excitedly, and then sat up directly from the bed. Finally, we can go out for the mission. We will smuggle into Vietnam first, and then my friend will arrange a plane there to fly directly to Africa, said Yang Ming. Speaking of this, Yang Ming had to admire Fang Tian's connections and relationships. He had already retired for so many years, but he could still arrange some things at any time. If it were Yang Ming, it was impossible to go to Africa through an irregular channel in a short period of time. However, there was always a process for everything. Fang Tian also said that after Yang Ming had enough experience, he would hand over all his connections to Yang Ming. Just the two of us. Wang Xiaoyan had never taken on such a big mission. Although she was excited, she was still a little nervous. And, just the two of us. Yang Ming said, how many more people do you want to go? It's just killing a person. Why do you need to make such a big scene? If it weren't for bringing you to see the world, I could have done it myself. TSK, you are bringing me because you want to mess with me, right? Wang Xiaoyan rolled her eyes at Yang Ming and said jokingly. Yang Ming suddenly broke into a sweat. Am I so unbearable in Wang Xiaoyan's eyes? March 14th was Yang Ming's birthday. Although there were still many things in the company that were not done, Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, Zhang Bin, and Zhao Sisi naturally wanted to celebrate Yang Ming's birthday. Of course, Yang Ming also sent an electronic invitation to Sun Jie, Xiao Qing, and Zhao Ying. However, Sun Jie had not returned from Donghai. He could only call to apologize. Xiao Qing was even more busy. The experiment was at a critical stage. As the person in charge of Songjiang Industry University, she couldn't get away. Unexpectedly, Zhao Ying would reply to an email saying that she would be on time. This made Yang Ming very surprised. After all, when Yang Ming sent the email, he also sent an invitation to Zhao Ying with the intention of trying. His relationship with Zhao Ying was now so stiff. Yang Ming didn't think that Zhao Ying would come to his birthday party. However, in Yang Ming's view, the person who shouldn't have come came, and the person who should have come didn't come because of something. As for the identity of Xiao Qing and Sun Jie, it was easy for Yang Ming to explain. Chen Mengyan also knew them, so she wouldn't have any doubts. However, thinking about it carefully, weren't Sun Jie and Xiao Qing also trying to avoid possible embarrassment? Therefore, Yang Ming's birthday party was now only attended by 4 women who were related to Yang Ming, Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, Zhou Jiejie, and Zhao Ying. In terms of friends, there were Zhang Bin, Xiao Sisi, Tian Donghua, and Wang Shui. Wang Xiaoyan naturally couldn't participate. Yang Ming didn't dare to let her participate. This little girl Wang's character was too hot, and Chen Mengyan was a little vinegar jar. If the two of them didn't get along well and fought, then it would really be bad. If Wang Xiaoyan was angry, it was possible to kill Chen Mengyan. Then, it would really be over. Therefore, Yang Ming wouldn't let Wang Xiaoyan participate in the matters between his women in a short time. However, on the day before the birthday, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan celebrated in advance. After all, with the contact with Wang Xiaoyan, Yang Ming liked this girl who had character and ideals more and more. Are you afraid that I will disturb your plans tomorrow? Celebrate my birthday with me in advance today. Wang Xiaoyan naturally guessed Yang Ming's intention. He, whatever you say. Yang Ming didn't deny it. After all, Wang Xiaoyan basically understood Yang Ming's private life, but she didn't want to interfere. Wang Xiaoyan wasn't sure if she could be with Yang Ming in the end. At first, she also held the attitude of being together with him one day at a time. However, now, she was somewhat reluctant to part with Yang Ming. Wang Xiaoyan didn't know if this was love. In short, Yang Ming was with her, and she would be very happy. When Yang Ming wasn't with her, she would feel that something was missing. Unknowingly, she had become accustomed to this feeling. Therefore, the more it was like this, the more Wang Xiaoyan was afraid that one day this feeling would disappear forever. After all, the world's #1 assassin group. This goal was too ambitious, and the difficulty of achieving it could be imagined. It wasn't that Wang Xiaoyan wasn't jealous. On the contrary, Yang Ming had other women, so she still cared very much. But now, whether she could be with Yang Ming was another matter. Wang Xiaoyan didn't have the mind to care about other things with Yang Ming. Now, all her thoughts were on how to make the assassin group stronger and bigger. Happy birthday. Wang Xiaoyan handed a small box to Yang Ming and said. Oh. Yang Ming was very surprised. Celebrating his birthday with Wang Xiaoyan in advance was just an impromptu decision. He had been staying with Wang Xiaoyan these days, so he celebrated in advance. He didn't expect Wang Xiaoyan to take it seriously and specially prepare a birthday gift for him. Thank you. Yang Ming took the small box and kissed Wang Xiaoyan's face. He asked, "What is it?" "Open it and you will know." Wang Xiaoyan smiled. Yang Ming opened the box and saw a small knife made of plexiglass. If he remembered correctly, Wang Xiaoyan seemed to have a similar one. Yang Ming had seen it before, so he asked, "You seem to have the same one, right?" "And I have the same one. I ordered it for myself when I left home." Wang Xiaoyan nodded. "I knew it was your birthday a few days ago, so I ordered the same one and sent it by international express delivery. I just received it. It's very practical. It can pass the security check, right?" Yang Ming weighed the knife, and it was quite handy. Looking at the material, he knew that it was not as simple as ordinary plexiglass. It should be made with a special process. It was first class in both hardness and feel. Smart. Wang Xiaoyan nodded. Only you can find its purpose. If you give it to others, they will think it is a handicraft. Wang Xiaoyan was obviously very happy to have a common language with Yang Ming. This thing is in our hands. Isn't it used to kill people?" Yang Ming smiled and said, "I like it very much. I will accept it." Both of them had common secrets and identities. Although it was a simple meal, they were very happy. Wang Xiaoyan opened a bottle of red wine, and both of them drank a lot. Obviously, Wang Xiaoyan did not have much alcohol tolerance. It could be seen that Wang Xiaoyan, as an assassin, had to keep a clear mind at all times. This was also what an assassin must maintain. Only Yang Ming did not care about this. However, under normal circumstances, it was difficult for Yang Ming to get drunk. Just like this half bottle of red wine, it was nothing for Yang Ming, but Wang Xiaoyan, who did not often come into contact with alcohol, was blushing and had begun to become confused. "It's so hot." Wang Xiaoyan took off her coat, leaving only the small vest inside. It was originally at home, so Wang Xiaoyan did not avoid anything in front of Yang Ming. She did not even wear a bra inside. Her exquisite figure was suddenly revealed, and it was particularly attractive. Among all the women in Yang Ming, Wang Xiaoyan was not the tallest, and her chest was not the biggest, but no one could compare to her figure. There was no fat on her body. Because of long-term training, her chest and buttocks were very round and strong. This kind of perfect curve was incomparable to other women. After all, even if they had a good figure, they could not be like Wang Xiaoyan. "What are you looking at me for? Do I look good?" Wang Xiaoyan was obviously drunk. Normally, she would never ask Yang Ming such questions as, "Do I look good? Do you like me?" These kinds of questions that only women would ask. "You look good." Yang Ming nodded and said, "Yen Yen, I found that I really fell in love with you." Wang Xiaoyan listened to Yang Ming's words, but there was no reaction. She still looked at Yang Ming with a blushing face. Just when Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable, Wang Xiaoyan suddenly threw herself on Yang Ming and hugged Yang Ming tightly. "Take me to bed. Do me hard. Kill me. I love you." Although the last three words were said very softly, Yang Ming still heard it. His heart trembled slightly. He did not know whether Wang Xiaoyan was drunk or heartfelt. Usually, Wang Xiaoyan would never mention such a topic. Chapter 1099. Yang Ming's heart moved slightly. He picked up Wang Xiaoyan and walked upstairs to the bedroom. For a long time, Wang Xiaoyan had shown a strong and overbearing side in front of Yang Ming. Perhaps, only at this moment was the real her. She was also a normal girl. She should be full of pursuit for love. It was just that he didn't know why she carried too many burdens from her family. Although Yang Ming had never asked, he could roughly guess that it was nothing more than a forced marriage. Before coming into contact with so many wealthy families, Yang Ming would think that those family reputation, family interests, and so on were nonsense in novels. However, after coming into contact with them, he knew how terrible it was. From the moment he came into contact with President Hua, Yang Ming also understood that some of the so-called wealthy families were not close to human feelings. Yang Ming didn't know why Wang Xiaoyan insisted on making her assassin organization the world's #1, but it should be some kind of agreement between her and her family. Therefore, whether it was for himself or for Wang Xiaoyan, Yang Ming would work hard to help Wang Xiaoyan achieve this dream. Moreover, Yang Ming had the ability to help her achieve her dream. With Fang Tian's connections, he didn't have to worry about not getting a mission. Therefore, Yang Ming believed that as long as he was hardworking, then Wang Xiaoyan's dream would be just around the corner. However, then again, even if this dream didn't come true, Yang Ming wouldn't let Wang Xiaoyan marry someone else. Yang Ming would never allow this kind of thing to happen. When he went upstairs and came to the bedroom, Wang Xiaoyan, who was still talking, had closed her eyes. There was a smile at the corner of her mouth as she fell asleep. Yang Ming shook his head helplessly. He gently put Wang Xiaoyan on the bed and carefully took off her small singlet and pants. Wang Xiaoyan had the habit of sleeping naked. Yang Ming was naturally very clear about it. If people who were used to sleeping naked slept with clothes on, they would be very uncomfortable the next day. Looking at Wang Xiaoyan's seductive body, Yang Ming suppressed the impulse in his heart. After all, although he slept with Wang Xiaoyan at the beginning because of the bet, and even because of some revenge purposes, Yang Ming had fallen in love with this girl. At this moment, he naturally couldn't bear to disturb her rest. After Yang Ming settled Wang Xiaoyan, he took off his clothes and lay next to Wang Xiaoyan. He turned off the lamp on the bedside table and closed his eyes. Although Yang Ming didn't use his special ability to explore the situation around him, Yang Ming could still be keenly aware of the small movements around him. Yang Ming suddenly opened his eyes, but found that Wang Xiaoyan was lying in front of him. A pair of big watery eyes were looking at him in a daze. "Weren't you asleep?" Yang Ming asked strangely. "Why didn't you do it with me?" Wang Xiaoyan didn't answer Yang Ming's question. Instead, she asked back with a face full of lust. Yang Ming broke into a sweat. "What are you playing at?" He smiled bitterly. "I saw that you were asleep and was afraid to wake you up. Well, since you are so willing to be done by me, then I will kill you." Yang Ming was annoyed by Wang Xiaoyan's words. He turned over and pressed Wang Xiaoyan under his body. "Then do it." Wang Xiaoyan was lying on the bed and said, "You can do whatever you want." In fact, Wang Xiaoyan hadn't slept. She was just drunk and confused. No matter what, she was also a person who had undergone strict training as an assassin. How could she fall asleep so easily? Just now, she couldn't control herself and said some strange words. It made Wang Xiaoyan a little shy, so she pretended to sleep for a while to eliminate the embarrassment in her heart. However, she didn't expect that after returning to the bedroom, Yang Ming really thought that she was asleep. After helping her take off her clothes, there was no other action. Wang Xiaoyan felt strange, but she was a little touched. It turned out that he also cared about her. In his eyes, she might not be just an assassin partner and a sexual partner, perhaps it was the alcohol, the atmosphere, or some other reason, but the two of them were quickly satisfied and fell into a deep sleep. Early the next morning, Wang Xiaoyan returned to the previous Wang Xiaoyan. The spring and seduction on her face no longer existed. Although she occasionally had intimacy with Yang Ming, it was not as obvious as yesterday. It was no different from the past. Yang Ming sighed slightly. He also knew that Wang Xiaoyan couldn't always open her heart completely like when she was drunk. After all, the pressure she carried was too heavy. A girl, instead of enjoying herself, wanted to form an assassin group. Perhaps it was inconceivable in the eyes of many people, but in the eyes of Wang Xiaoyan, it was imperative. Today was Yang Ming's birthday. On this day last year, Yang Ming's birthday was not so solemn. At that time, he was still in high school. He was caught by Chen Mengyan for skipping class in the morning. Thinking of this, Yang Ming's heart was slightly sweet. His thoughts seemed to return to this day a year ago. "Yang Ming. Where are you going?" That morning, Yang Ming came to the classroom and walked around casually. He threw his school bag on the seat and turned around to leave the classroom. But before he walked to the door of the classroom, he felt that the corner of his shirt was grabbed by someone, followed by a familiar voice. Yang Ming was helpless. "I don't know what bad luck I have these days. Every time I skip class, Chen Mengyan catches me." Yang Ming even thought, is this little girl secretly in love with me? Otherwise, why would she pay so much attention to me? If she hadn't been watching me, how would she know that I was skipping class? "Madam, are you looking for me?" Yang Ming repeated the action that he had to do every day, which was to smile and not fight back. Chen Mengyan was also very angry. This Yang Ming is too unself-aware, right? Yesterday, he promised that he wouldn't skip class in the future. Today, he wants to sneak out under my eyes. "Yang Ming, what about your promise yesterday?" Chen Mingyan's face was sullen. She glared and reprimanded, "It's only been a few days since school started. and you're skipping class all day. Do you not want to go to university? Hey! How do you know that I don't want to go to university? Are you a roundworm in my stomach? Yang Ming pretended to be surprised and opened his mouth wide. He looked at Chen Mengyan in confusion. Go to hell. Chen Mengyan rolled her eyes at Yang Ming. What nonsense are you talking about? What roundworm? It's so unpleasant. Oh, that's good. Then I'm going. Yang Ming nodded and continued to walk to the door of the classroom. However, before he took 2 steps, he was stopped by someone again. Needless to say, it must be Chen Mengyan. Yang Ming. Chen Mengyan said angrily, what are you going to do? Go to hell. Didn't you ask me to go? Yang Ming said innocently. Why are you so obedient this time? Chen Mengyan was a little dumbfounded. What do you mean go to hell? How can he go to hell? Chen Mengyan wasn't a fool. He must want to use this as an excuse to continue skipping class. So, she said, I asked you to study. Why don't you go? Ugh. Yang Ming scratched his head. I want to study, but I can't. What do you think I should do? So, it's better not to study. It's not good if I affect other students. Yang Ming, if you don't study hard, can you learn? Chen Mengyan frowned. Yang Ming said the same thing every day. She also tried to persuade him. However, if he really didn't study hard, then no matter how she persuaded him, he wouldn't listen. Thinking of this, Chen Mengyan sighed helplessly. Well, to tell you the truth. Today is my birthday. Yang Ming sighed. You see, I don't have many friends in class. Although everyone seems to be afraid of me on the surface, in fact, I also know that they despise me very much. So, when it's my birthday, no one can attend. I just want to celebrate my birthday in peace. Initially, I didn't want to say it. After I said it, you wouldn't celebrate my birthday with me. Then, I would lose my face. But since you want me to tell you the truth, then I can only say it like this. Ah. Chen Mengyan was stunned. She didn't expect that today would be Yang Ming's birthday. She recalled that she had seen Yang Ming's file. It seemed that his birthday was really in March, but she couldn't remember which day it was. Now that Yang Ming said this, Chen Mengyan was in a dilemma. If she didn't celebrate Yang Ming's birthday with him, then it would be despising him. But, she never thought about it like this, right? How would she know that Yang Ming actually said this deliberately? Although Yang Ming's grades weren't good, and he was a bully in school, he had never looked down on his classmates. Even when his classmates were bullied by other classmates, Yang Ming even helped them. Therefore, Yang Ming had shortcomings, but most of the students still felt that Yang Ming was quite loyal. They couldn't say that they liked him, but at least they didn't hate him. However, a few special people were exceptions, such as Wang Jitao and Chen Afu. However, the well-behaved Chen Mengyan had never skipped class, and it was impossible for her to skip class to celebrate Yang Ming's birthday with him. Even if she wasn't afraid of other people's gossip, at least she wouldn't be able to get past the teacher. As a class monitor, if she skipped class, how could she still do that? Sure enough, you also despise me from the bottom of your heart. Yang Ming pretended to be very sad. As he spoke, he walked to the door. Chen Mengyan's character was very kind. When she saw Yang Ming so sad, her heart suddenly felt very uncomfortable. She quickly said, Yang Ming, I don't despise you, but I can't skip class, I know. Yang Ming waved his hand with a heartbroken look. How about next year when we are both admitted to university, I will definitely celebrate your birthday for you. Chen Mengyan was anxious and said quickly. That's fine, then see you next year. I'm leaving first. Yang Ming waved his hand to Qin Mengyan and walked out of the classroom quickly. AI. Qin Mengyan sighed. She didn't expect Yang Ming to have so many worries. Usually, she saw that he was careless, but she really didn't notice it. Yeah, this isn't right. Qin Mengyan suddenly realized, this Yang Ming, didn't he skip class again? Thinking of this, Qin Mengyan suddenly became angry. She clenched her small fist and waved it. It turns out that I was cheated by him again. I still want to celebrate his birthday. What birthday? Wishful thinking, don't even think about it. However, Qin Mengyan thought about it again. If Yang Ming can really be admitted to university, then what's wrong with celebrating his birthday with him? I'm just afraid that he can't be admitted. After Yang Ming successfully skipped class, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. However, there was some expectation in his heart. Originally, he didn't have any illusions about Qin Mengyan. After all, the gap between him and Qin Mengyan was too big. But now, after Qin Mengyan said so, his heart began to become active again. If Qin Mengyan can celebrate my birthday with me, how wonderful would that be? However, this idea was only temporary and disappeared in a flash. After all, it was simply too difficult for me to be admitted to university. Zhang Bin was still waiting for me at the school gate. Thinking of this, Yang Ming put away those unrealistic thoughts and quickened his pace. He walked quickly to the school gate. Zhang Bin didn't often skip class. Although his grades weren't very good, he also stayed in the classroom every day, so it was easier for Zhang Bin to skip class. He and Yang Ming acted separately. He left the classroom first, but no one noticed him. Even if they noticed him, they would think that he was going to the toilet. Yang Ming was different. He was supervised by Qin Mengyan all day long. Bro, why are you so slow? When Zhang Bin saw Yang Ming come out, he quickly waved his hand and said, I have been waiting here for more than 20 minutes. Those who don't know would think that I am a student standing guard at the school gate. Isn't it because of Qin Mengyan? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. I wanted to come out, but she caught me and stopped me. I spent a lot of effort to run out. Bro, if you ask me, Qin Mengyan is interested in you. Zhang Bin smiled after listening. Why doesn't she care about others? I walked out of the classroom, but she didn't see it. However, when you skipped class, she could find it. This explains the problem. Yang Ming smiled bitterly and said, what is interesting? Isn't it because I have skipped class too many times? Otherwise, how can I be targeted by her? Yang Ming, of course, still had self-awareness. He wouldn't be stupid enough to think that Qin Mengyan would fall in love with him. Anyway, this is special treatment for you. Zhang Bin smiled and said, let's go to the Ju Yuan Chun restaurant next to the school. I have booked a table. Let's celebrate. Ju Yuan Chun. No way, is it that extravagant? Yang Ming's original intention was for the two of them to just find a place to have a barbecue. It's okay. I have money. You don't have to save for me. Zhang Bin waved his hand indifferently. With our relationship, whoever has money should spend more. Zhang Bin was familiar with the owner of the Ju Yuan Chun restaurant. He was a friend of Zhang Bin's father, Zhang Jifang. Therefore, there were only two people, Zhang Bin and Yang Ming, and the owner also gave them a private room. Bro, happy birthday to you. Zhang Bin raised his glass and said to Yang Ming, come, I will drink first. Yang Ming also raised his glass. This was the only good friend in his class. Maybe he would leave him in a few months. Yang Ming also knew that even if Zhang Bin couldn't get into university, Zhang Bin's father could spend money to get him into a good school. But Yang Ming couldn't do it. His father was a worker, and his mother was a temporary worker in the community. It was impossible to take out so much money to go to university on his own. Bro, what's wrong with you? You seem to be unhappy. Zhang Bin also noticed that Yang Ming was a little depressed, so he asked quickly. Nothing. I just thought that in a blink of an eye, the high school life is going to end. Time flies. Yang Ming sighed and said. Bro, you are reluctant to part with Chen Mengyan, right? Zhang Bin asked after listening. Bro, why don't you confess to her? Anyway, whether it will work or not, you have tried it. You won't regret it in the future. If you really graduate, there is no way to regret it. Okay, don't talk nonsense. What confess? Aren't you harming me? Yang Ming shook his head and said, you don't know Chen Mingyan's character. Moreover, I heard that Wang Jitao, that idiot, had already confessed before. Chen Mengyan told him that she didn't consider having a boyfriend in high school. She directly rejected him. That's because Chen Mengyan didn't like him. Zhang Bin waved his hand and said with an unfathomable look, when it comes to women, you don't know as much as I do. I have been hooking up with girls on the internet since I was a freshman in high school. I know women's thoughts better than you. They say that they don't fall in love. That's just an excuse. That's because they haven't found the right one. Once they find it, all the words they said before are all empty words. Really? Yang Ming really didn't understand the thoughts of girls. Seeing that Zhang Bin said it like it was true, he was suddenly moved. Of course it's true. Zhang Bin nodded and said, you see, Chen Mengyan wants you to study hard every day. If you really want to chase her, then you should follow her wishes, study hard, and change for her. In this way, you will definitely have a chance. Boss, I'm not flattering you. In terms of appearance and ability, you are much better than Wang Jitao. That guy is good at studying and has a rich family. He's not as good as you in any other aspect. Yang Ming was naturally not the kind of person who would be hot-headed when he was flattered. He shook his head and said with a smile, let's talk about it later. Even if I study hard, I can't study too well. Chen Mengyan is going to a famous university. If we can't be together in university in the future, it's useless. That's true. Zhang Bin also sighed helplessly and said, Boss, but no matter what, even if we are not together in the future, you will always be my boss. Hee hee. Yang Ming smiled and said, I believe that. Beep beep. The sound of a car horn urging him to drive came from behind. Yang Ming collected his thoughts and glanced at the signal light. It had turned green. He shook his head and started the car. He didn't expect that today, 1 year later, Chen Mengyan really fulfilled her promise and came to celebrate his birthday. His brother also didn't go far away and was still by his side. Life's encounters were really wonderful. After a lot of twists and turns, he actually set foot on a path to success. He instantly walked to the top of the social pyramid, calling the wind and calling the rain. He was always successful. Chapter 1100. The place where Yang Ming celebrated his birthday did not choose the Heavenly Earth or the Nightless Club, but he chose Juyuan-chun, the place where he celebrated his birthday a year ago. Although Yang Ming was no longer the same as before, he still missed the days a year ago. The tense and relaxed senior high school life, arguing with Chen Mengyan every day and having fun with Zhang Bin. When Yang Ming arrived at Juyuan-chun, Zhang Bin was standing in the hotel lobby and talking to the boss here. Because he was a friend of Zhang Bin, he was naturally familiar with Zhang Jifang. Moreover, Zhang Bin often came here with Zhang Jifang. After going to university, he founded his own company and was injured, so he did not come here for a while. Bro. You are here. Seeing Yang Ming walking into the hotel, Zhang Bin quickly greeted him. Just like a year ago, he waited for Yang Ming at the school gate. I'm not late, right? Yang Ming saw Zhang Bin and smiled at him. I asked you to wait for me again this year. I booked the place. Of course, I have to come early. Sister-in-law hasn't come yet. She is in the company with Cici. She will come in a while. Zhang Bin said. Why? Is there still business today? Yang Ming was surprised. The jewelry exhibition had been over for a while, but he didn't expect the jewelry company's business to be so popular. Well, February 14th is Valentine's Day, and March 14th is called White Valentine's Day. Zhang Bin said, so, the store's business is also very popular today. Cici has to take care of it. White Valentine's Day. What is that? Yang Ming was inexplicable. He only knew about Valentine's Day, but he didn't know about White Valentine's Day. I didn't know. It wasn't because of the promotion in the company. It was a promotion plan proposed by an employee. Only then did I know what White Valentine's Day was. Zhang Bin explained, this White Valentine's Day is actually called returning etiquette. Etiquette. Yang Ming was suddenly interested. He didn't expect his birthday to be a holiday. This was the first time that Yang Ming had heard of it. In fact, Valentine's Day and White Valentine's Day first originated in Rome in the 3rd century. Zhang Bin began to apply what he had learned on the spot. This knowledge was obtained from the promotion plan of the employee in the company. On February 14th, the Roman emperor saved a pair of lovers who were about to be executed for violating the prohibition on marriage. The Roman emperor set up Valentine's Day to commemorate this day. A month later, on the 14th of March, the rescued lovers swore that they would love each other until they died. In order to commemorate this day, they set a new date as White Valentine's Day. And this festival spread from Europe to the rest of the world. What does this have to do with etiquette? Yang Ming was baffled. Bro, wait for me to finish. Our boss asked you to give me 50,000 yuan. You have to give me 50,000 yuan. The sunglasses man obviously didn't want to waste more time with Zhu Yuanchun's boss. He waved his hand and said, Excuse me, your boss is. Zhu Yuanchun's boss saw that the sunglasses man didn't listen to him, so he had to ask. In fact, he also had some security guards and strong waiters in his restaurant. He could totally drive these 4 guys out, but he couldn't resist the reputation of the Mingyang company. Who dared to provoke them? Therefore, Zhu Yuanchun's boss was angry, but he didn't dare to act rashly. Motherfucker, my boss is Bao Sonli, brother Bao. Don't you know? The sunglasses man said with a glare. Yang Ming thought that they were just a few punks who had watched too many movies, but he didn't expect that these people could directly say the name of Bao Sonli. In fact, not many people knew the name of Bao Sonli. Everyone knew that he was called Brother Bao, but they didn't know that he was called Bao Sonli. The people who knew the name of Bao Sonli could be said to be very few. Except for the employees of Ming Yang's formal industrial companies, almost no one in the underworld knew. Therefore, when Yang Ming heard the sunglasses man mention the name of Bao Sonli, he suddenly frowned. He didn't know the identity of this person. When Zhu Yuanchun's boss heard the name of Bao Sonli, he was suddenly stunned, but he naturally knew Brother Bao. He quickly said, It turns out to be Brother Bao. It's good that you know. I thought you didn't know. If you don't know, I have to beat you until you know. The sunglasses man snorted and said, Tomorrow, prepare 50,000 yuan for me. I will come to pick it up personally. Otherwise, don't think about opening this restaurant. After that, the sunglasses man didn't care what the boss of Zhu Yuanchun thought. He waved his hand directly and took his 3 underlings out of the Zhu Yuanchun hotel. When the sunglasses man was talking, Yang Ming deliberately took out his mobile phone and pretended to send a text message. In fact, He used the mobile phone's camera function to take a picture of the appearance of these 4 people, and then send it to Bao Sonli through MMS. He also used a text message to ask Bao Sonli if he knew these people. Zhang Bin naturally knew Bao Sonli, and he vaguely knew the relationship between Bao Sonli and Yang Ming. However, seeing that Yang Ming didn't speak at the moment, Zhang Bin didn't dare to be nosy. He stood aside with Yang Ming and quietly watched the development of the matter. AI. After the 4 people left, the boss of Zhu Yuan Chun sighed and said, "This business is really getting more and more difficult. I thought that after the underworld of Songjiang was unified, I didn't have to pay the black money like protection fees every month. I didn't expect that I would have to pay more. These people aren't imposters, right?" said Yang Ming suddenly. Imposters? How can they be imposters? The boss of Zhu Yuan Chun shook his head and said, "Who dares to impersonate them? If Brother Bao knew, wouldn't he be beaten to death? I think this must be Brother Bao's idea." AI. Well, let's not talk about this. You are Zhang Bin's friend. Today is your birthday. Don't let these messy things ruin your mood. Although it wasn't a small amount to take out 50,000 yuan a month, the boss of Zhu Yuan Chun could still afford it. The scale of his hotel wasn't small. He had at least 80 to 100,000 yuan a month. If he gave out 50,000 yuan, he could still have 30 to 50,000 yuan left. It was considered that he had left some leeway. Soon, Yang Ming's mobile phone received a text message from Bao Sonli. "Brother Yang, I don't know these 4 people. What's the situation?" Yang Ming looked at Bao Sonli's text message and frowned. Sure enough, they are imposters. However, aren't these 4 brats quite bold? They actually dare to use the Ming Yang Company's Bao Sonli's name to swindle others. Yang Ming replied to Bao Sonli's text message and told him what had just happened. He ordered Bao Sonli to strictly investigate these people who swindle others in the name of Ming Yang. If this kind of behavior continued, then wouldn't the reputation of Ming Yang Company be ruined by these people? Bao Sonli replied to the text message and said that he would send someone to strictly investigate this matter, but he also said that this was the first time he encountered this kind of thing. He had never heard of similar things happening before. Looking at Bao Sonli's text message, Yang Ming faintly felt that something was not quite right, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. Yang Ming shook his head. Over there, Zhang Bin had already talked about other things with the boss of Zhu Yuan Chun, leaving the unpleasantness behind. By listening to the conversation between Zhu Yuan Chun's boss and Zhang Bin, Yang Ming learned that Zhu Yuan Chun's boss had made a lot of money in recent years and was preparing to withdraw from the catering industry. He planned to go abroad to find his son who was studying abroad after withdrawing. However, Yang Ming could also guess that the withdrawal of Zhu Yuan Chun's boss must have a lot to do with today's incident. Perhaps he had thought of retreating a long time ago, but today's matter made him even more determined to do so. As they were talking, Zhao Ying walked into the restaurant gracefully with a small gift box in her hand. When she saw Yang Ming and Zhang Bin, she smiled and nodded to them. "Miss Zhao." Although Zhang Bin also faintly knew that there seemed to be some ambiguous relationship between Yang Ming and Zhao Ying, it was not so detailed, and they didn't have much contact usually. At this time, when he suddenly saw Zhao Ying appear here, he suddenly felt a little restrained. After all, Zhao Ying was his former teacher. He still couldn't adapt to this situation. "Hee, Zhang Bin, you are also here." Zhao Ying said with a smile, "You don't have to call me Miss Zhao. I am in the same school as you. Now we are schoolmates. You and Yang Ming can call me Sister Ying or Senior Sister." Yang Ming had some doubts. Is this Zhao Ying? A few days ago on QQ, Zhao Ying was still crying. Why is she so natural today? It seems like nothing happened. Sister Ying, that day. Yang Ming scratched his head and saw that Zhang Bin was still by the side. Some words couldn't be said. Zhang Bin also realized that he was a third wheel, so he quickly went to the side and continued to talk to the boss of Zhu Yuan Chun. Yang Ming paused, and he couldn't say anything. What day? Zhao Ying smiled slightly and handed the gift in her hand to Yang Ming without any anger. This is for you. Happy birthday. Thank you. Since Zhao Ying was so normal, Yang Ming didn't say anything more. He took the gift from Zhao Ying's hand and said, "Is this a birthday gift or a return gift for Valentine's Day?" What return gift for Valentine's Day? When did you give me a gift for Valentine's Day? When Zhao Ying said this, she suddenly realized that she had made a mistake. She blushed and said, "Don't talk nonsense. Do you want it or not? If you don't want it, I will take it back." Yes, of course, I want it. Yang Ming smiled and thought, it seems that Zhao Ying definitely knows about White Valentine's Day. Listening to the meaning of her words just now, is she complaining that I didn't give her a Valentine's Day gift? I naturally want to give her a gift, but I am afraid that I will be rejected. Sister Ying, let's go upstairs. I will take you to the private room upstairs. When Yang Ming saw that Zhao Ying was a little embarrassed, he understood that she was thin-skinned. Zhao Ying's temperament was like this. If he went too far, she would shrink back. Yang Ming must grasp this scale. I won't go. Chen Mengyan, Zhao Sisi, and the others should come in a while. After all, I have been your teacher. You will definitely not be used to talking together. Zhao Ying shook her head and said, I came to give you a gift. I will go first. Ah. Don't, Sister Ying. Aren't you very familiar with Mengyan? It's okay to be together. Yang Ming was stunned after listening to Zhao Ying's words, and then he quickly invited her. Zhao Sisi isn't familiar with Mengyan. Zhao Sisi isn't familiar with it. I'm Zhang Bing and Zhao Sisi's teacher. They definitely aren't used to it. Look at Zhang Bing. He's not used to it now. Zhao Ying smiled and said, well, I'll go first. I hope you guys have fun. This. Yang Ming was really inexplicable about Zhao Ying's behavior today. What is this? She just came to give me a gift. Then she left. However, seeing that Zhao Ying insisted on leaving, Yang Ming couldn't help it. He had to send her to the door, and then he waved goodbye to Zhao Ying. Originally, Yang Ming wanted to take the opportunity to apologize for the incident that day, but when he saw Zhao Ying's smiling face, Yang Ming really couldn't speak. This is simply too strange. Did Zhao Ying forget the unpleasantness of that day? But if she really forgot the unpleasantness of that day, then why didn't she stay for dinner? A woman's mind. Especially Zhao Ying's mind, Yang Ming still couldn't figure it out. It was really a headache. Yang Ming hated himself for being timid. If he had forcefully kissed Zhao Ying on that moonlit night, or even forcefully grabbed and touched her, and did something that was beyond friendship, things would have been settled, right? Bro, why did Miss Zhao leave? Zhang Bin saw that Yang Ming sent Zhao Ying away and asked, baffled. She was afraid that you and Sisi wouldn't be used to it, so she left first. Yang Ming shrugged and said. Me? Not used to it with Sisi. No way. Zhang Bin suddenly said bitterly, bro, how can you blame me for this? I have become a sinner, and yet. It's okay. In fact, Sister Ying has something to do at school. Yang Ming saw that Zhang Bin was blaming himself, so he quickly comforted him, I just made a joke. Although Yang Ming didn't know why Zhao Ying insisted on leaving, he could guess the general reason. It should be related to the incident that day. Yang Ming naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to think that Zhao Ying had forgotten the incident that day. Zhao Ying didn't mention it because she didn't want to mention it. She didn't want to embarrass both of them, right? AI, you scared me to death. Zhang Bin sweated and said, bro, you really scared me to death. I almost became a sinner, don't talk nonsense. I have nothing to do with sistering. It's not the kind of relationship you think. Yang Ming was afraid that Zhang Bin, this guy, would say something. If Chen Mengyan knew about it, then it would be a bit messy, so he quickly told him. Oh, I understand. Zhang Bin looked like he knew everything and nodded with a smile. Damn. Yang Ming was so angry that he scolded, what do you understand? You understand. You don't understand anything. As they were fooling around, the hotel door was pushed open again. 4 girls came in. One of them was wearing a black professional suit. Naturally, she was Zhang Bin's wife, Zhao Sisi. However, what surprised Yang Ming was the other 3 girls. Today, Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, and Zhou Jiejia actually wore the same style of coat. Not only that, but even their hairstyles, scarves, gloves, and boots were exactly the same. They were like triplets. Yang Ming looked at the 3 beauties in front of him. He opened his mouth in surprise and couldn't speak. Chapter 11:01. Seeing Yang Ming's stunned look, Chen Mengyan smiled and said complacently, how is it? Is it nice? It's nice. Yang Ming couldn't help but exclaim, whose idea is this? The 3 of you are more and more like sisters. Chen Mengyan blushed and didn't speak, but Zhou Jiejia said, it's Sister Chen Mengyan's idea. Yang Ming guessed that it was Chen Mengyan's idea. Lin Jiyun wouldn't take the initiative to do these things. Although it was possible for Zhou Jiejia, after all, she had just become familiar with Chen Mengyan and the others, so she was embarrassed to do these things. So the most likely person was Chen Mengyan. He didn't expect this girl to give him a surprise. Zhu Yuanchun's boss, who was standing on the side, was shocked when he saw these 3 beauties dressed up. He didn't know what the relationship between these 3 people and Yang Ming was, but he didn't say much. After all, this had nothing to do with him. They came to his territory to spend money. If he did so, he would be hated for no reason. Seeing that Yang Ming's guests were all here, Zhu Yuanchun's boss naturally retreated and let the waiter lead Yang Ming and the others to the private room on the 2nd floor. He didn't ask for a luxurious private room. Although these people were different this year, Yang Ming was still nostalgic and still asked for the private room from last year. Chen Mengyan, I remember that on this day last year, you said that you would celebrate my birthday, right? I didn't expect you to really fulfill your promise. When entering the private room, Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan joked. I thought you were lying to me. I didn't expect it to be your birthday today. Chen Mengyan said with some embarrassment. She didn't expect that the words she said in a hurry last year would become a reality this year. Thinking back, it felt like a dream. Her relationship with Yang Ming was really strange and sudden. Unknowingly, she had fallen hopelessly in love with this bad student who had once skipped class in her eyes. However, Chen Mengyan didn't regret it. On the contrary, she was very proud. In the past year, Yang Ming's great achievements were obvious to all. His opponents fell one by one under his hands, and he gradually became stronger. In particular, her father's approval of Yang Ming strengthened Chen Mengyan's conviction. Because of Chen Fei's profession, he was more picky about people. He didn't admire anyone easily, and he didn't think highly of anyone easily. However, his impression of Yang Ming was extremely good. Although Yang Ming had a relationship with another girl because of some strange circumstances, Chen Fei felt that these things couldn't be blamed on Yang Ming. In that case, Wang Jitao set a trap. Yang Ming was a normal young boy, so it was inevitable that he would make some mistakes. The key was whether Yang Ming could take this responsibility after making a mistake. Now it seemed that Yang Ming did a good job. Although Chen Fei didn't know that his daughter and Lin Jiyun had become sisters, Chen Fei still recognized Yang Ming's attitude at the beginning. "Boss, 3 sisters-in-law, please take a seat." Zhang Bin ran around the private room and did what a waiter should do. He took out the bowls and chopsticks from the disinfection cabinet. The waiter on the side was a little embarrassed. She also knew that this room was full of the boss's distinguished guests. It wouldn't be good if she neglected them. If she had to ask them to do it personally, wouldn't it show that she was incompetent? "Sir, I'll do it," said the waiter quickly. "No need. I'll do it myself." Zhang Bin waved his hand and smiled. "You go out and do your work. I don't need you here." Seeing that Zhang Bin insisted on doing it himself, the waiter couldn't help it. After all, some people like to do it themselves. The waiter had seen this before, but it was done by some subordinates in order to please the leader. Zhang Bin seemed to have a good relationship with Yang Ming. It wasn't a superior and subordinate relationship, right? However, listening to Zhang Bin calling Yang Ming boss, perhaps the 2 people were sworn brothers. In this way, it was not inappropriate for Zhang Bin to be more attentive. The waiter left the private room and was busy preparing the dishes. "Yang Ming, happy birthday to you." Chen Mengyan and Zhang Bin didn't speak, but Zhao Sisi spoke first. She handed a small box to Yang Ming and said, "This is your birthday gift." "Thank you." Yang Ming quickly took the gift. "I didn't expect you, Sisi, to give me a gift." "Zhang Bin, this kid, has no memory." "No, he asked me to prepare it." Zhao Sisi smiled sweetly and said, "However, our economic strength is not as powerful as yours now. Don't look down on it." Yang Ming nodded secretly in his heart. It was indeed a blessing for Zhang Bin to find a wife like Zhao Sisi. Looking at Zhang Bin's appearance, Yang Ming knew that he didn't prepare any gift at all. The relationship between Yang Ming and Zhang Bin was very clear to each other. There was no need for such hypocritical things as gifts. When Yang Ming celebrated his birthday last year, Zhang Bin didn't give any gift, so this gift must be bought by Zhao Sisi herself. She just left enough face for Zhang Bin in front of outsiders. "Of course not. You and Zhang Bin gave it. Even if it's a pencil, it's also a thought." Yang Ming smiled and opened the gift. The thing inside made Yang Ming's eyes light up. It was actually a cartoon version of Yang Ming and Zhang Bing. Yang Ming was sitting in front of a desk while Zhang Bing was standing beside him and talking about something. It was exactly like their high school life. It was a replica of the 2 of them when they were in class. Holding the small handicraft in his hand, Yang Ming was really amazed. Zhao Sisi was really thoughtful. She actually gave such a gift. Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, Zhou Jiejie, and Zhao Sisi just tasted it and drank a little. In a peaceful and lively atmosphere, a year passed. Yang Ming grew up by another year. This was a period of growth. It allowed Yang Ming to go from a fledgling kid to the present, from being unknown to having the underground forces of the entire Songjiang city and Jiduan city. It was just that Yang Ming was relatively low-key, so these things weren't known to outsiders. In the beginning, Chen Mengyan and the others didn't drink, but they couldn't stand the high atmosphere of the birthday party. Under the half-persuasion of Yang Ming and Zhang Bin, they also felt a little dizzy from drinking. "Let's go to karaoke later," Zhang Bin suggested. "Okay, let's go to the Nightless Club." Yang Ming was also a little drunk. Yang Ming's alcohol tolerance was still very good, but he was more happy today, so it was easier for people to get drunk. But basically, Yang Ming was still sober. "Don't. There is also karaoke in the private room. Let's do it here." You see that Jia is almost asleep. Chen Mengyan waved her hand and objected. Yang Ming listened to Chen Mengyan's words and looked at Zhou Jia. Sure enough, he didn't know when Zhou Jia was already lying on the table. She seemed to have fallen asleep, and her small face was blushing. Zhou Jiajia's alcohol tolerance was obviously not as good as Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, and Zhao Sisi. Lin Jiyun and Zhao Sisi often participated in the company's cocktail party. Although they weren't wine lovers, as the company's bosses, if they didn't drink a glass before the party, the employees wouldn't be able to drink to their heart's content. So, over time, they also developed some alcohol tolerance. As for Chen Mengyan, it may be because she inherited Qin Fei's good wine gene. She could also drink 2 glasses, but it was worse than Lin Jiyun and Zhao Sisi. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. When a birthday song sounded, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun held the microphone and swayed gracefully in front of Yang Ming. Yang Ming's heart was a little drunk. This situation made Yang Ming feel very emotional. If it continued to be so peaceful. But obviously, Yang Ming also knew Chen Mengyan's temperament. She could accept Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jia only because of some coincidences. Lin Jiyun was forced by Yang Ming. No matter what, Yang Ming had to take responsibility, so Chen Mengyan could only bear this responsibility for Yang Ming. Zhou Jia, on the other hand, blocked the bullet for Yang Ming. Chen Mengyan couldn't be indifferent to her. This was a girl who could even give up her life for Yang Ming, therefore, Yang Ming didn't think that Chen Mengyan would continue to accept others after accepting Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jia. It was true that Chen Mengyan also accepted Lan Ling and Suya, but that was only because these two had to be accepted. Chen Mengyan couldn't do anything about it. After the birthday song, everyone was casual. Zhang Bin and Zhao Sisi sang a few love songs. Although Zhang Bin's voice wasn't very pleasant to listen to, he was emboldened by alcohol. His rough voice was quite interesting. After the two sang, they began to make a fuss and asked Yang Ming to sing with the 3 girls. However, since Zhou Jia was already drunk and asleep, only Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun could sing with Yang Ming. Yang Ming, Chen Mengyan, and Lin Jiyun sang a song by Shuya. The reason why they chose Shuya's song was clear in their hearts. They believed that Chen Mengyan was also deliberately showing her generosity in front of Yang Ming on Yang Ming's birthday. It was noisy until the evening when the lively birthday party ended. Zhou Jia was still in a daze. When Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan helped her up from the table, she asked, "Do you still want to drink?" "No. If you want to drink, drink at home." Yang Ming smiled. Only then did Zhou Jia realize that the party was over. She smiled apologetically and followed Yang Ming and others out of the hotel's private room. Yang Ming drank some wine, so he called Bao Sanli and asked him to drive over as a driver. At this time, Bao Sanli had already arrived here early. He was standing in the hotel lobby and chatting with the boss of Zhu Yuan Chen. Although the boss of Zhu Yuan Chen had heard of the name Brother Bao, he had never seen him. Bao Sanli did not introduce himself. He just said that he was waiting for someone. When Bao Sanli talked with the boss of Zhu Yuan Chen, he deliberately led the topic to the scene where the gangsters came to cause trouble today. After listening to the boss of Zhu Yuan Chen's narration, Bao Sanli was also very puzzled. He had never given such an order. Now, the income of the Mingyang Security Company, the Nightless Club, and Heavenly Earth was already quite considerable. There was no need to do anything to collect protection fees. Moreover, Mingyang Real Estate had recently started to work with Zhou Jiajia's mother's real estate company and Sun Jia's family's company to build the largest resort in the province. The income of these projects was in the millions. They did not care about the income of the protection fees. Bao Sanli was sure that someone must have borrowed his name to swindle, but he had to say that this person was very good at seizing the opportunity and people's hearts because these people would not go to Bao Sonli to verify it. First, they could not see Bao Sonli easily. Second, they did not dare to go. This made Bao Sonli smile bitterly. He also understood that if this matter was not handled properly, it would have a great negative impact on the reputation of the Mingyang Security Company. Originally, the Mingyang Security Company was a brand to protect the safety of other people's property. On the contrary, it was extorting others. Bao Sonli naturally would not watch things continue to deteriorate. "Boss, don't worry. I will bring people over tomorrow and wait here. I will see who will ask you for money." Bao Sonli looked at the boss's sad face and comforted him. "Ah. You." When the boss heard Bao Sonli suddenly say this, he was somewhat inexplicable, but then he reacted and said, "Big brother, you are a policeman, right? Blame me for talking too much. This is the unspoken rule in our industry. You should not worry about it. Otherwise, I can hide tomorrow, but I can't hide in the future. Sooner or later, I will suffer. Anyway, I don't plan to run the restaurant anymore. After a while, I will find a suitable buyer to sell it. Now, I don't ask for anything else. I just want stability. I don't want to cause more trouble." This was indeed the real idea of Zhu Yuan Chun's boss at the moment, because he really didn't want to continue operating. On the other hand, it was also because he was afraid of getting into trouble. Those punks were not easy to deal with. Indeed, the police came and scared them away, but what about the next day or the third day? Maybe when the police were not there, they would come back. The boss of Zhu Yuan Chen did not dare to do this. Hee. Bao Sonli listened to the boss's words and smiled. Then, he took out his business card and handed it to the boss. He said, "This is my business card. Don't worry. I am here tomorrow. Nothing will happen." The boss quickly took the business card and glanced at the content on the business card. He suddenly showed a surprised expression. Although the name Bao Sonli was a bit unfamiliar, he was still clear about the title on it. General Manager of the Mingyang Security Company. Of course, Bao Sonli had other business cards, such as the Nightless Club, Heavenly World, etc., but now he needed the name of the Mingyang Security Company. Ah. The boss was shocked and quickly said with a trembling hand, "Brother Bao, are you Brother Bao?" Bao Sonli smiled and nodded. "Those people are not my men, so boss, you can rest assured. Leave these things to me." The boss just wanted to say something grateful, but he saw that Bao Sonli had turned his head. At this time, Yang Ming carried Zhou Jiejia and walked out with Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, Zhang Bin, and Zhao Sisi. After Bao Sonli saw it, he quickly greeted, "Brother Yang." However, Bao Sonli found that he couldn't help much. He couldn't help Yang Ming carry a woman, right? So, he had to stand there stupidly and didn't know what to do. "You go and open the door." Yang Ming nodded and instructed. Bao Sonli listened to Yang Ming's instructions and walked quickly to the hotel door with relief. Chapter 1102. The car that Bao Sonli drove this time was an Audi A8, which was bought at the request of Yang Ming. Indeed, it wasn't appropriate for a company's boss to drive a Jinbei van out all day long. Even if he didn't care, he had to pay attention to the company's image. After all, the car of a company's boss represented the strength of the company to a large extent. This was also something that couldn't be helped. Many customers would look at this point. If the car was too broken, they would think that you had no strength. Following Bao Sonli was a Buick minivan. Because Zhang Bin also drank too much, he couldn't drive. He could only go back by car. This A8 couldn't fit so many people. Zhang Bin and Zhao Sisi got in the Buick minivan behind. Yang Ming, Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, and Zhou Jiejia got in the previous Audi A8. Yang Ming sat in the front passenger seat, and Chen Mengyan and the other two women sat in the back. The space of the Audi A8 was very spacious. The back seat was very big, and the three women were very petite, so it didn't seem too crowded when three people sat. It was completely possible for another one to sit. Because the three women were in the car, Bao Sanli didn't say too much about the things that happened when he chatted with Zhu Yuanchun's boss. However, since Yang Ming had already asked him to deal with this matter, after Bao Sanli dealt with it, he would report the results to Yang Ming. When Yang Ming came down from the private room upstairs, he naturally saw Bao Sanli talking to Zhu Yuanchun's boss. He also thought that it was probably because of the previous matter, so Yang Ming didn't ask much. For the place where Yang Ming now lived, Bao Sanli was naturally familiar with it. He soon arrived at the Huashang district. Yang Ming, Chen Mengyan, and Lin Jiyun carried the sleeping Zhou Jiejia into the villa. Today's situation was special. Zhou Jiejia also asked for leave in advance, so she didn't need to go back to school. Upstairs, Yang Ming first settled Zhou Jiejia in the room, and then went downstairs. At this time, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun had already taken a bath. Yang Ming also knew that something would definitely happen tonight. He didn't know what kind of gift these two little girls prepared for him. Yang Ming sat on the sofa. He would leave early tomorrow morning. He didn't know how to explain it to Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, and the others. He didn't know how long he would leave, but he couldn't tell them the truth. Yang Ming closed his eyes and thought. Suddenly, the lights in the hall dimmed, and the sound of dance music came from the sound system. Two slender figures flashed in the center of the hall. They were Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. At this moment, the two of them had already changed out of their usual clothes. They were indeed wearing a set of very sexy sportswear. Only their bras and shorts were exposed. Around their waists, there was a string of glittering golden waist chains. As the rhythm of the dance music sounded, the two also began to dance. It seemed to be a kind of belly dance. Yang Ming was excited. He didn't expect that the gift prepared by the two would be this, a real erotic dance, and it was in his own home with only him as an audience. Yang Ming felt proud when he thought about it. Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun's figures were also excellent. Although they couldn't be compared with Wang Xiaoyan, a girl who had been exercising for a long time, it was already very good compared to ordinary people. Therefore, with the dim light, the two twisted their bodies. It was extremely sexy and seductive, which made Yang Ming's imagination run wild. However, although the two danced well, Yang Ming felt that some of the movements seemed to be somewhat out of place. It seemed that they weren't coordinated. He didn't know how the two rehearsed before. Didn't they notice it? At the end of the dance music, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun sat on both sides of Yang Ming. Perhaps because they drank a lot of wine before, even Lin Jiyun, who had always been shy, became bold at the moment. How is it? Do you like this gift? Chen Mengyan stuck her body to Yang Ming's side. She blushed and asked sweetly. Of course, I like it. Yang Ming nodded quickly. He thought, it would be great if you can dance in front of me once every day. Sister Lin and I learned at a fitness center near the company. Many of the company's employees have membership cards there. Sister Lin and I also have one. Chen Mengyan said, however, this dance rehearsal was done with 3 people. Who would have thought that Jiejia would get drunk so easily? It was a waste to teach her for a long time. Yang Ming listened to Chen Mengyan's words and suddenly realized. No wonder I felt that it wasn't coordinated before. It turned out to be this reason. This dance was originally done with 3 people. Now it had become 2 people. With one less person, it was naturally uncoordinated. It doesn't matter. When Jia wakes up, you can perform it again. Yang Ming said shamelessly. You wish. Today is your birthday, so I gave you a surprise. There won't be another one in the future. Chen Mengyan said. Then I will celebrate my birthday every day. Yang Ming smiled. You're not serious. Chen Mengyan said, well, the gift is given. I'm sleepy. I'm going to rest. Let Sister Lin accompany you tonight. Ah. Lin Jiyun was stunned and said, Sister Mengyan, didn't we agree before that it would be you? Previously, the two of them did discuss that Chen Mengyan would accompany Yang Ming tonight. However, when Chen Mengyan wanted to say it, she couldn't say it. Now, she realized how difficult it was for her to be the master of the harem in this family. She was afraid that Yang Ming would say that she was narrow-minded. Then, she had to be magnanimous. If she was magnanimous, she could only sacrifice her own interests. You two don't have to argue. The purpose of his trip to Africa this time was also to take over the diamond mine. He just had to do some other things. Chen Mengyan also knew that Yang Ming was going to Africa to do business. Even if she didn't want Yang Ming to go, Yang Ming would still go, so it was better not to stop him. She just reminded him to be careful. I don't know how long I will be gone, so I won't see both of you for a long time. Yang Ming sighed and smiled bitterly. You also know that both of you are equal in my heart. You are equally important, so I can't bear to part with either of you. Tonight, I can only be close to one person. Isn't this a regret before I leave? This. Chen Mengyan didn't expect that Yang Ming's reason would be this. However, to be honest, Yang Ming would leave tomorrow. She also missed Yang Ming. She also wanted to be close to him on the last night. Lin Jiyun should have the same idea, right? Thinking of this, Chen Mengyan was really in a dilemma. If I give this opportunity to Lin Jiyun, I'm not willing. If I don't, then my approach is a bit stingy and not generous. Do I really have to follow the intentions of Yang Ming, this big pervert? Thinking about serving Yang Ming with Sister Lin, Chen Mengyan's face was a little hot. She couldn't help but complain, then why didn't you say it earlier? You only said it today. Are you doing it deliberately? Do you want to satisfy your dirty wish of sleeping together? I'm innocent. Yang Ming quickly waved his hand and denied, Mengyan, I haven't said it all this time. Isn't it because I'm afraid of disturbing your work? Recently, the company's matters are so busy. I'm afraid that after I say it, you won't have the mood to deal with the company's matters, so I can only endure the loneliness alone. Really? Chen Mengyan knew Yang Ming's ability to talk big. At this moment, she looked at Yang Ming with some doubt. However, Yang Ming's reason was also reasonable. He couldn't delay the business matters because of personal feelings. This wasn't what Chen Mengyan wanted to see. After all, everyone was still young. It wasn't the age to enjoy. Of course, it's true. Yang Ming sighed. I also know that this is a bit embarrassing for you, but things have come to this point. Chen Mengyan saw Yang Ming sigh, and she was a little annoyed. Yang Ming's reason was right, but Chen Mengyan could probably guess what Yang Ming was thinking in his heart. He should be expecting her to agree, right? However, Chen Mengyan wasn't such a licentious person. Although her relationship with Lin Jiyun was already very good, it could be said that the two of them were even better than biological sisters. They slept together and bathed together. Biological sisters would still hide their worries. However, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun didn't have any distinction between each other because both of their lovers were Yang Ming, so there was no need to hide anything. However, although they were good, both of them couldn't accept having sex with Yang Ming on the same bed at the same time. Even if the two of them bathed together and had seen each other's bodies, that was another concept. Or, you go and Sister Lin first, and then come back to me. Chen Mengyan hesitated. She could only think of such a compromise. Then, like that day, sleep together in the end? Yang Ming asked quickly. In fact, he also knew that according to Chen Mingyan's character, it was very difficult to achieve a threesome. She wasn't Sun Jia, and she wasn't as bold as Sun Jia. This kind of thing was obviously impossible. However, it was already good to be able to take a step back now. Things had to be done bit by bit. Let's talk about it later. Chen Mengyan said perfunctorily with some guilty conscience. This was really a problem. In a while, it was somewhat inappropriate for Yang Ming to sleep with anyone. After all, Yang Ming would leave tomorrow. If it were normal times, it would be fine. She would just be modest, but now. Therefore, Chen Mengyan had to be vague. If Yang Ming really hugged both of them to sleep together, it would be fine as long as they didn't do anything. Anyway, he often slept with little Sister Lin. This night, as Yang Ming expected, when he hugged Sister Lin to Chen Mengyan's bed, Chen Mengyan just glared at him. Then, she didn't say anything more and let him lie between the two of them. The night was silent. In the morning of the next day, Yang Ming's phone rang. Yang Ming quickly turned off the ringtone. He glanced at Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun who were sleeping next to him and smiled slightly. Yesterday's matter, there should be some progress, right? After leaving the room, Yang Ming picked up the phone. It was a call from Fong Tian. Yang Ming, how is it? Are you ready? Fong Tian's voice came out from the phone. And, when are we leaving? Asked Yang Ming. You and Wang Xiaoyan come to my house to find me. I will take you, said Fong Tian. Okay, I will prepare now. Yang Ming finished briefly and hung up the phone. Walking to the door of Zhou Jiejia's room, Yang Ming carefully opened the door. Zhou Jiejia was sleeping soundly. Her small face was red, which was very cute. Yang Ming couldn't help but walk over and kiss her face. Zhou Jiejia's eyelashes suddenly moved. Yang Ming was shocked, but he was relieved after looking carefully. Zhou Jiejia was still sleeping. Maybe she was just disturbed by her beautiful dream. Yang Ming carefully left the room, then quickly put on his clothes and went downstairs. He couldn't tell Zhou Jiejia that he was going to leave, but he believed that Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun would tell her. After Yang Ming left, Zhou Jiejia opened her eyes. In fact, when Yang Ming kissed her, she had already woken up. She was just a little embarrassed. She didn't know at the moment that Yang Ming was going to leave. Otherwise, she wouldn't continue to pretend to be asleep. After that, when Chen Mengyan told Zhou Jiejia that Yang Ming had left, Zhou Jiejia reacted. In the morning, it should be Yang Ming who came to say goodbye to her. Thinking of this, Zhou Jiejia was still very happy. This proved that Yang Ming still had her in his heart. Today was the day of action. Wang Xiaoyan got up early, dressed up, and quietly waited for Yang Ming to come over. Wang Xiaoyan also knew that yesterday was Yang Ming's birthday, and they were going out today. Yang Ming would definitely be intimate with his girlfriends for a while, so she didn't call to urge him. When she heard the sound of the door opening, Wang Xiaoyan looked up and saw Yang Ming pushing the door and coming in. For Yang Ming to be able to open the door of the villa, Wang Xiaoyan wasn't surprised. The security system of the villa was originally installed by Yang Ming, and Yang Ming had the universal lily key in his hand. You're here. Can we go now? Wang Xiaoyan stood up and looked at Yang Ming with a smile. Are you okay? You didn't sleep much last night, right? Whether there is a problem or not, you don't know yourself. I slept with you all night. Aren't you still very energetic the next day? Yang Ming retorted. Humph, Wang Xiaoyan snorted and picked up a small bag on the sofa. It's fine if you don't take the things. Someone will naturally meet us when we get there. Yang Ming said, it's inconvenient to carry them. Alright, then we'll take the glass dagger and the lipstick pistol. The rest of the things are at home. Wang Xiaoyan nodded and said. The two people went into battle lightly. Wang Xiaoyan sat in Yang Ming's car, and they drove all the way to Fang Tian's residence. Yang Ming didn't want to mention Fang Tian's matter to Wang Xiaoyan, let alone let her meet with Fang Tian. After all, Fang Tian's identity was quite special. Yang Ming naturally had to be cautious. However, it seemed that Fang Tian didn't care much about it. He asked Yang Ming to take Wang Xiaoyan directly to find him. Then, what was there for Yang Ming to be afraid of? He just had to do it. However, Wang Xiaoyan wouldn't know Fang Tian. Why are we back in Shantytown again? Wang Xiaoyan looked out of the window with some doubts. The headquarters of the Black Widows organization used to be in Shantytown, but now they had moved away. She didn't know why Yang Ming drove the car back here. Chapter 1103. The place I took you to is also in Shantytown. Yang Ming smiled. To be honest, when I first came to your headquarters, I was also very puzzled. Why is your headquarters also located here? It's because my assassin friend also lives here. Ah. What a coincidence. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly understood. No wonder Yang Ming would come to this place. She originally thought that he had something to do. However, after listening to Yang Ming's words, Wang Xiaoyan asked curiously, your friend is also an assassin. He also lives here. And, he is also an assassin, but he has retired and no longer does missions personally. However, his connections are still there, so he can help us with some business. Yang Ming said truthfully. This was also allowed by Fang Tian. Yang Ming didn't understand why Fang Tian would let him say so much. It was reasonable to say that this was a confidential matter. Even though Wang Xiaoyan and his relationship was already very close, after all, he still didn't know about Wang Xiaoyan's life experience, so Yang Ming had always been very cautious. However, since Fang Tian said that it didn't matter, then Yang Ming didn't care. He told everything he could to Wang Xiaoyan. Obviously, Wang Xiaoyan was also very surprised and moved that Yang Ming could speak so much. The initial combination of the two was only because of the relationship of interests. There was no trust or being trusted, but as time passed, the relationship between the two people had changed. Although Wang Xiaoyan said something boldly after drinking that day, it didn't mean that she wasn't sober. She was definitely drunk, but she still remembered what she said. Wang Xiaoyan was also very clear about her current mood, and she was also very troubled. She didn't know if continuing to develop with Yang Ming was right or wrong, but one thing was certain. Yang Ming had also begun to open his heart to her. This kind of secret resource in the assassin world was generally difficult to share if it wasn't the closest person. When Yang Ming performed his first mission, he took her to see the introducer. It was enough to see how much importance Yang Ming attached to her. Of course, Wang Xiaoyan didn't know that all this was actually acquiesced by Fang Tian. Otherwise, even if Yang Ming had a lot of courage, he wouldn't dare to simply reveal Fang Tian's identity. Yang Ming parked the car on the sidewalk near Shantytown and said, "We can't go in front. We can only drive here. Let's get off and walk there." Wang Xiaoyan wasn't a delicate princess who would be tired after a few steps. She didn't feel anything wrong, but Yang Ming specifically reminded her. "We're here. It's here." Yang Ming stopped at the edge of a small courtyard and said to Wang Xiaoyan behind him. After saying that, he pushed the door open and walked in. Old man, I'm here. Yang Ming closed the door and shouted inside casually. Wang Xiaoyan on the side was stunned. No matter what, he was still a senior. Why didn't Yang Ming respect him? Fong Tian was probably already prepared. When he heard Yang Ming shout, he walked out of the house and said, "Don't shout. Let's stay in the house for a while. I will contact the exit." Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan entered the house together. Wang Xiaoyan looked at Fong Tian's room with some curiosity. It was a very simple home, similar to most of the old people's homes in shantytown. There was a rocking chair, a bed, an old-fashioned TV, and a radio. There were also some miscellaneous small things. Wang Xiaoyan was also very curious about Fong Tian. He was a very peaceful old man. Why didn't he look like an assassin? However, you can't judge a book by its cover. I didn't think that Yang Ming was an assassin, but he was more powerful than me. Not bad, not bad. Fong Tian made a phone call and entered the house. He looked at Wang Xiaoyan with a smile and nodded. This little girl is very beautiful. Yang Ming sweated after listening to Fong Tian's words. Why did it feel like he was setting himself up for a blind date? He quickly introduced, "Old man, this is Wang Xiaoyan. I told you before." I know." Fong Tian nodded. "She is your little girlfriend." Ugh. Yang Ming was very surprised. What happened to Fong Tian today? He actually made fun of him. However, Fong Tian's character was like an old urchin. Yang Ming was used to it. Fong Tian's words made Wang Xiaoyan blush. She quickly explained, "No, we are just partners." "Oh, partners. It's good to be partners." Fong Tian nodded and suddenly changed the topic. "However, don't put it on the bed." Wang Xiaoyan was already guilty. Now that Fong Tian saw through her thoughts, her face suddenly became redder. She didn't know what to say. "Actually, it's nothing." Fong Tian waved his hand. "Actually, I am Yang Ming's master. I see that you are good. It's not bad to be my apprentice's wife, huh?" After listening to Fong Tian's words, Wang Xiaoyan was immediately shocked. The old man in front of me is actually Yang Ming's master. Doesn't that mean that he is more powerful than Yang Ming? Why can't I see how powerful he is? Moreover, what did he mean by what he said just now? Does it mean that he agreed to the matter between me and Yang Ming? Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoyan was a little happy. She also envied Yang Ming. His master is really open-minded. If only my father is like this. Yang Ming's kung fu was 1,000 times better than hers. His master was definitely not an ordinary person, but he was so easy to talk to. Her father, on the other hand, was so harsh on her marriage. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoyan couldn't help but sigh and said, "Let's talk about the future later. Let's talk about the mission first." Fong Tian smiled faintly and didn't say anything. He knew Wang Xiaoyan's identity better than Yang Ming. He was also very clear about why Wang Xiaoyan ran away from home. Therefore, he was more clear about what Wang Xiaoyan was worried about at this moment. However, Fong Tian wouldn't expose it. Some things wouldn't be beautiful if they were exposed. It was better to let nature take its course. "In a while, I will find a car to send you to Guangxi, and then take a boat to Vietnam." Fong Tian said, "Although it is fast to take a plane, you should understand why I don't let you take it." Yang Ming nodded. Taking a plane required registration of identity. Although it was only a domestic flight and there wouldn't be any mistakes, it was better to be safe than sorry. Fong Tian didn't want to have any relevant records to prove that Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan went to Guangxi at the same time. The person who will pick you up will be responsible for sending you to Vietnam. Then, there will be a corresponding person to pick you up. Fong Tian said, there shouldn't be any problems, but even if something happens, there won't be any problems with your skills. Anyway, it's not our country's territory. You can kill however you want. You can just leave after you break the sky. Yang Ming broke into a sweat. He thought, do you think killing people is like cutting vegetables? You can kill however you want. To be honest, Yang Ming never killed innocent people indiscriminately. Those who died under Yang Ming's hands basically deserved to die. Even for this kind of political enemy of General Kars, there might not be many innocent lives under his hands, so Yang Ming killing him was not wrong. Except for the border of Vietnam, the domestic entry and exit checks were very strict. On the other hand, Vietnam was very relaxed. They could be smuggled to any country at will. I won't say anything unnecessary. Be careful. Fong Tian instructed. Only at this moment, he was like a teacher. Don't worry. Yang Ming nodded and said, I know what to do. Protect your little girlfriend. Fong Tian glanced at Wang Xiaoyan and instructed Yang Ming. Yang Ming didn't understand why Fong Tian valued Wang Xiaoyan so much. Was it because she was also an assassin? As for his other girlfriends, Fong Tian basically didn't care. Okay. Yang Ming agreed. Wang Xiaoyan was also a bit baffled. She felt that Fong Tian seemed to have a good impression of her. Not long after, Fong Tian received another call, and there was a knock on the door. Fong Tian went to open the door. A fat man came in and shook hands with Fong Tian enthusiastically. Elder Fong, I haven't seen you for several years. Fong Tian smiled and shook hands with him. The fat man wanted to hug Fong Tian, but seeing that Fong Tian didn't seem to have that intention, he had to give up and said, the car is ready. When can we set off? This is Yang Ming and his little girlfriend. Help me take care of them. Fong Tian pointed to Yang Ming. Don't worry, Elder Fong. I will do what you tell me. The fat man promised again and again. Fong Tian obviously trusted the fat man. He nodded and said, get ready and set off as soon as possible. The destination is nearly 3,000 kilometers away. It will take a day and a night to drive. Hello, young people. My name is Li Si. Ha, of course, I'm not the traitor around Qin Shi Huang. This name is a bit, but it can't be helped. My parents gave it to me. You can call me Fatty Li. The fat man smiled and introduced himself to Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. Yang Ming listened to the fat man's self-introduction. Naturally, he wouldn't be polite. His real name was a bit awkward. It was better to call him Fatty Li, then let's set off. I'll have to trouble you along the way. Yang Ming nodded and said. Sure. Fatty Li nodded and said goodbye to Fong Tian. He walked out with Yang Ming. The fat man's car was an old military green Toyota 4500. It was parked behind Yang Ming's car. Yang Ming had informed Bao Sanli to come and take it back in a while, so Yang Ming wasn't worried. In Fatty Li's car, Yang Ming sat in the front passenger seat, and Wang Xiaoyan sat in the back. If you are tired, you can sleep. Yang Ming said to Wang Xiaoyan, we have to walk for nearly a day. Wang Xiaoyan slowly got used to Yang Ming's concern. If one day, there was no such concern around her, Wang Xiaoyan couldn't imagine what her life would be like. Hey, little brother, isn't the license plate of the car in front quite badass? Why did it stop in the slums? Aren't the people living around here poor? Fatty Li got in the car and pointed to Yang Ming's car in front of him. Could it be the bad taste of the rich? Did they come here to show off? Ha! Fatty Li just finished speaking, and Wang Xiaoyan in the back couldn't help but laugh. What's wrong? What are you laughing at? Am I wrong? Fatty Li listened to Wang Xiaoyan's laughter and was somewhat inexplicable. Yang Ming sweated and said, Fatty, that's my car, ugh, aw. Fatty Li was also stunned, but he immediately smiled embarrassedly. Brother, is this your car? I'm sorry. It's fine. Yang Ming shook his head and said, You're right. This license plate is a bit too eye-catching. After I come back, I will change my car. It's better to be low-key. Otherwise, people will say that it's the bad taste of the rich, haha. Fatty Li saw that Yang Ming didn't mind, and he also laughed heartily. Fatty Li's driving skills were very good, and he drove very fast. He shuttled through the traffic of Songjiang City and soon got on the Songjing Expressway. Fatty Li was a very talkative person. It didn't take long for Yang Ming to know his relationship with Fang Tian. In the early years, Fang Tian saved Fatty Li once. Fatty Li always remembered it in his heart, but he also knew that Fang Tian was a powerful character. There was no harm in having a good relationship with such a person, so he had been keeping in touch over the years. Chapter 1104. It was true that Fatty Li's driving skills were very good. He was almost speeding all the way, and it took him 20 hours to reach the destination. For some speed cameras, Fatty Li didn't mind at all. It seemed that all the procedures of this car were fake. At least, Yang Ming saw more than a dozen license plates in the trunk of the car, and there were even Vietnamese license plates. Wang Xiaoyan slept for a while in the back, and now she was very energetic. Yang Ming was always vigilant. Although Fang Tian had explained that Fatty Li was a person who could be absolutely trusted, it was hard to know what was in a person's heart. After so many years, who could guarantee that Fatty Li was absolutely kind? There will be a boat to pick us up in a while. Now, let's get out of the car to eat something and simply stretch our bodies. Fatty Li parked the car on a lawn not far from the river. When the door was opened, a hot air came out. Yang Ming shook his head with a bitter smile. They had crossed most of the map plate in one day. From the north to the south, the temperature had also changed sharply. The coat on his body could no longer be worn. Fortunately, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were prepared in advance. After taking off the coat, there was a long-sleeved shirt inside. When it was hot, the sleeves could be rolled up. When it was cold, the sleeves could be put down. It was very convenient. In order to rush for time, they didn't stop along the way. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan didn't eat anything except for drinking water. Although Fatty Li suggested that Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan eat something to fill their stomach, Fatty Li didn't eat. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were also embarrassed to eat. Anyway, both of them were assassins. They had received strict professional training. Their endurance was not worse than Fatty Li, so they persisted until they reached the destination. Then, the three people took out the food in the trunk of the car. Most of it was some fast food, which was purchased in the supermarket before Fatty Li left. Do you want a drink? Fatty Li opened a can of Songjiang beer and raised it. No. Yang Ming waved his hand. I don't like to drink very much. Then I won't be polite. Fatty Li didn't say much. He directly gulped it down, and then he showed an excited expression. Cool, I haven't drunk such pure beer for a long time. The wines in Vietnam don't have this taste at all. Is there no beer in Guangxi? Yang Ming looked at Fatty Li's refreshing look and asked curiously. Yes, but I don't come here often. Moreover, the boats are used to carry people. It's too extravagant to use it to transport beer. Fatty Li said, when you get there, you will know how bad the beer is. Yang Ming smiled, grabbed a burger, and tore open the outer packaging. Compared to other things, hamburgers were more satisfying. Yang Ming was here to carry out a mission, not to enjoy. If he ate too much, his body would feel uncomfortable, so it was fine to eat until he was full. Wang Xiaoyan ate even less. She only had a bag of milk and a bag of Master Kong 3+2 biscuits. She didn't even finish all the biscuits. How come the two of you eat so little? Fatty Li saw that Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan finished eating quickly, and he was still here, slowly savoring the drumstick and beer. Hee, we are used to it. Yang Ming smiled. When we eat outside, we like to end it as soon as possible. The ship still has to wait for a while to arrive. There are so many things. It is a pity not to eat. If you don't eat, then I will eat by myself. Fatty Li shook his head. He didn't understand Yang Ming's habit, so it was inappropriate to ask more. You eat. Don't worry about us. Yang Ming stood up and planned to walk around with Wang Xiaoyan. This was the first time in his life to come to Guangxi, but he just stayed for a while. Don't go too far. There are also snakeheads here. I know some of them, but some of them don't listen to me. Don't make any mistakes. Fatty Li saw that Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were preparing to walk around, so he quickly reminded them. Don't worry. Yang Ming smiled and said, we will walk around nearby. We won't be out of your sight. That's good. Fatty Li nodded. Neither Yang Ming nor Wang Xiaoyan were afraid of any snakeheads. There was such a benefit to coming out with Wang Xiaoyan. Yang Ming didn't have to worry about the safety of Wang Xiaoyan all the time. There were very few people who could hurt Wang Xiaoyan, but there were many who could be hurt by her. Therefore, Yang Ming was also very relaxed. He strolled along the river with Wang Xiaoyan, but it was also very pleasant. How do you feel? Are you tired? Asked Yang Ming. I'm okay, but I'm a little excited. Wang Xiaoyan was telling the truth. It was difficult not to be excited when she received such a big mission for the first time. You will get used to it. There are still many missions to accept in the future. Yang Ming smiled and said, I hope there won't be any problems. Yang Ming could understand Wang Xiaoyan's mood at the moment. How similar was it to the first time he went to perform a mission? Thinking about it, he should be so nervous, right? At this time, the shore of the Beiluan River was still very quiet, especially the location where Yang Ming and the others were at. It was not a tourist attraction. The reason why they chose to smuggle in here was because there were fewer people here. The sound of a ship's motor gradually became clear. They glanced at the river. A medium-sized passenger ship came to the shore. At this time, Fatty Li also stood up and greeted it. Come to think of it, this was the ship that came to pick them up, but Yang Ming was somewhat puzzled. There were only a few people. Why did they get such a big ship? A small boat was enough. However, then Yang Ming knew why. He would have to rely on himself to continue to develop in the future. Unknowingly, the boat docked. Yang Ming also breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing Fatty Li talking and laughing, Yang Ming's heart was still a little uneasy. After all, this was his first time using this kind of illegal immigration, but Fatty Li was obviously used to it. In his opinion, it was as simple as eating a meal. On the shore, Fatty Li also drove the car down. When they were on the boat, Old Kang had replaced the license plate with a local Vietnamese military license plate. Vietnam was relatively poor, and there were fewer families with cars, especially high-end cars like the Toyota 4500. However, with the military license plate, it would not be so eye-catching. After all, in the armies of various countries, the Toyota Land Cruiser series of cars accounted for a large proportion. Is the license plate real? Asked Yang Ming casually. The license plate is real, but there is no procedure. Fatty Lee smiled and said, "You have to rely on your connections. It is much simpler to do things here than on your side. As long as you have money, this place will become your paradise." Yang Ming didn't know much about the local customs here, but he had also seen similar comments on the internet, saying that Vietnam was a paradise for the rich. Here, you could have everything with money. But Yang Ming was just a transit here. He had no time to study the things that eat, drink, and play here. Fatty Lee turned and said a few words to Old King in Vietnamese. At first, Old King insisted on refusing and shook his head. However, after Fatty Lee said something, Old King nodded and agreed, but he gave something to Fatty Lee. After Fatty Lee finished talking to Old King, he jumped into the off-road vehicle, and then let Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan get in the car. I asked him to stay here and not follow us, but he refused. He must follow. Fatty Lee said after he got in the car. Later, I ordered him in the name of the boss, and he gave up. Yang Ming didn't expect Fatty Lee to explain the conversation between him and Old King. He was a little surprised, but he immediately understood that Fatty Lee was opening his heart and wanted to win his favor. This one is very loyal. Not bad. Yang Ming nodded and said sincerely. It could be seen that Old King was the kind of person who was not good with words, but he was particularly willing to work hard and risk his life. Yeah, otherwise, I can't let him follow me for so many years. Fatty Lee smiled. After all, he is a Vietnamese. If not, I can't trust him completely. The car was driving on the muddy road in Vietnam. Yang Ming didn't know where this was. He had never been to Vietnam, and he was not familiar with the environment here. He could only try his best to remember the route he had passed by. Although Fatty Lee seemed to be trustworthy, Yang Ming's profession made him always be careful and cautious. Boom! There was a faint sound similar to the explosion of firecrackers in the jungle. However, Yang Ming looked stunned. Because he knew that this was not the sound of firecrackers at all, but gunshots. When he was training in Europe, Yang Ming had deliberately received similar training. In an empty room, he listened to the sound of various weapons to distinguish what kind of weapon the enemy used. Therefore, whether it was gunshots or firecrackers, Yang Ming could directly distinguish them. Although this gunshot was not very clear, Yang Ming could not accurately say what weapon made it. It should be some kind of long-caliber rifle. These were two different sounds. Yang Ming looked at Wang Xiaoyan quietly and saw that she also frowned. Yang Ming could be sure that Wang Xiaoyan also heard it. The two looked at each other, and everything was understood without words. Is it very messy here? Yang Ming glanced at Fatty Lee, who was unaware, and asked. It's okay. It's actually not as messy as you think. Fatty Lee said somewhat inexplicably. Guns are very messy. Asked Yang Ming. This is true. Some of the veterans have guns in their hands. Fatty Lee nodded and said. The sound just now was a gunshot. Yang Ming said faintly. Oh. Is it? Fatty Lee was shocked and immediately became alert. This area is my territory. No one will play with guns. Seeing Fatty Lee's nervous look, Yang Ming was somewhat helpless. I also heard it vaguely. Maybe it came from a far place. Fatty Lee nodded. Although he didn't say anything, Yang Ming could feel that he obviously raised his vigilance and no longer talked and laughed like before. These people lived in danger every day. Although it was very cool in the eyes of outsiders, Fatty Lee knew that he had many enemies. Boom! There was another crisp sound. However, this time the sound was very close. The bullet seemed to have passed by not far away. This time, without Yang Ming saying it, Fatty Lee also heard it. Fatty Lee's face suddenly showed a vigilant look. He stopped the car and touched his waist with his hand. Yang Ming saw it before. It was a Vietnamese pistol, which was given to him by Old King when they set off. Boom, boom. There were 2 consecutive sounds. It seemed that the bullet was shot on the side of the car. Get down. Yang Ming pressed Fatty Li's head down and let him curl up in the driver's seat. Wang Xiaoyan, without Yang Ming's reminder, had already gotten down. Boom. There was another gunshot. The bullet shot on the front windshield of the Toyota. Although it did not penetrate, there was a crack mark on the windshield. Bulletproof glass. It's quite strong. Yang Ming smiled. Fatty Li saw that Yang Ming was still in the mood to smile, and he admired him, but he couldn't smile. Fatty Li didn't expect that someone would launch a surprise attack on him today. It's bulletproof, but I don't know if it can be blocked later. Obviously, Fatty Li had no confidence in the bulletproof glass. Did you meet an enemy? Asked Yang Ming faintly. Maybe. Motherfucker, I thought of it. It must be that guy, Hey Lao San. Fatty Li nodded and said fiercely. Although Yang Ming didn't know who Hey Lao San was, he was definitely a person similar to Fatty Li. Perhaps he was his peer. Wasn't there a saying? Peers were enemies. While talking to Fatty Li, Yang Ming was still vigilant about the movement outside the car until he saw a shadow approaching. He said, "Give me the gun." Aw. Fatty Li was stunned. He hesitated, but he still handed the gun to Yang Ming. At this moment, he made a great decision. All of this was due to his trust in Fong Tian. Today's events were very strange. Just after he picked up Yang Ming, he was attacked. Although Fatty Li also understood that this matter should have nothing to do with Yang Ming, it was inevitable that he had no doubts. Therefore, at this moment, Yang Ming asked him for the gun. He had to take a great risk. But when he thought about it, his life was saved by Fong Tian. If it weren't for Fong Tian, he would have died here 20 years ago. Fatty Li didn't care about anything. If Yang Ming really wanted to kill him, it should be Fong Tian's intention. At most, he would just return his life, so Fatty Li was so generous to give the gun to Yang Ming. Yang Ming also saw Fatty Li's hesitation. How could he not understand his thoughts? However, at this time, Yang Ming wouldn't say anything. Yang Ming took the gun and gently held it in his hand. His other hand touched the door handle of the car. Fatty Li looked at Yang Ming with some surprise. He didn't know what Yang Ming wanted to do. After Yang Ming asked for the gun, he didn't take any action. Fatty Li couldn't ask, so he could only be anxious. Suddenly, Yang Ming moved. He slammed open the door, swung his hand, and fired a shot outside. Then, he quickly closed the door. All of this was done at the speed of lightning. The whole process was less than 2 seconds. Until Yang Ming closed the door, there was a scream outside the car. Fatty Li was extremely shocked. He killed one just like that. Isn't it too fast? He wanted to say something, but when he saw that Yang Ming was still there quietly, Fatty Li swallowed the words that came to his mouth. Let's go. He is the only one around here. We have already killed him. Let's retreat. After a while, Yang Ming sat up and said. Vietnam welcomed them, and it was rare for them to check for illegal immigrants. After all, this was not an economic powerhouse like Europe and the United States. No one would settle here from a developing China. There is a problem. Fatty Li shook his head. With his intuition, he had already noticed that things were unusual. Fatty Li's relationship with the local officials was very good. Otherwise, he couldn't get the license plate of the military vehicle. If the other party had a large-scale inspection, it was impossible for Fatty Lee not to have any news at all. If it was not to check for illegal immigrants, then there was no need to set up a roadblock here because this was not a traffic route at all. Except for the cars that picked up guests on the illegal boats, no one would come here. Yang Ming shrugged. He was not familiar with the environment here, but if Fatty Lee said that there was a problem, then there must be a problem. I will find a way to rush over in a while. If I can't rush over, I guess I will have to fight. Fatty Lee gritted his teeth and said, "You are guests. There is no need to take risks with me. This is my personal grievance with He Lao San. You get off here. I will call Old King to pick you up. Let's go together." Yang Ming waved his hand and smiled. "If you have an accident, who do we find to go to Africa?" Oh. Although Yang Ming's reason was somewhat reasonable, Fatty Lee also knew that it was not necessary to go through him to go to Africa. With Fong Tian's connections, it was also possible to find another channel. However, Yang Ming's current idea was really to protect Fatty Lee. Yang Ming also knew that Fatty Lee was not the only channel. Fong Tian could definitely find others, but time waited for no one. Since he had come to Vietnam with Fatty Lee, it was better to be safe. Otherwise, it would take a lot of time to reconnect with the channel to go to Africa. Knowing that Yang Ming would not get off, Fatty Lee did not persuade much. He put a police light on the car and turned on the car's alarm. If it was a general car check, then the military car that saw Fatty Lee with the alarm should be let go directly. However, if someone deliberately set up a roadblock, then it was hard to say. Fatty Lee also understood that it was impossible for all three of them to stay in the jungle. Over there, He Lao San's underling, Poisonous Scorpion, was killed by Yang Ming. If He Lao San did not get the news of Poisonous Scorpion for a long time, and the roadblock here did not see Fatty Lee's car, then it was very likely that he would take people to push into the jungle. The final result was that all three of them would be discovered. Therefore, Fatty Lee suggested that Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan stay, and he would rush out by himself. But now that Yang Ming was with him, Fatty Lee's heart was a lot more at ease. Yang Ming's powerful strength completely conquered Fatty Lee's heart in an instant. If they could find a way out, it would be great. Fatty Lee was not a pretentious person. From his career to his little fame in the northern region until now, he had become a tyrant. He had long thought that his enemies might come to him at any time. So when it really came to this moment, Fatty Lee could also be calm. At worst, it was just a death. But now with the appearance of Yang Ming, everything became possible. In this case, who was willing to die? It was good to have a glimmer of hope. When Fatty Lee was busy moving things, Wang Xiaoyan walked to Yang Ming's side. "What are you going to do?" "Drive over. Before they take action against me, I will shoot and detonate the fuel tank of the truck." Yang Ming did not hide and told his plan. "It's too dangerous. This is a way to die together." When Yang Ming's voice just fell, Wang Xiaoyan exclaimed, "What if they have the same purpose? What else can I do?" Yang Ming smiled bitterly. "We can't just wait for death, right? But, how about I go with you?" Wang Xiaoyan hesitated and said, "No need." Yang Ming shook his head. "It doesn't make sense. I still have to take care of you." "Well, Fatty Lee is almost done moving. I have to go. If I stay for too long, the people over there will be suspicious. I want to go." Wang Xiaoyan bit her lip and said firmly, "No." Yang Ming said coldly, "You don't want me to die. Just wait here for me to come back." Wang Xiaoyan still wanted to say something, but Yang Ming had turned around and was ready to get in the car. "Don't talk about you and me. If you still don't feel at ease, let's do it in the car. When I die, you can give birth to a child for me." Yang Ming smiled and said jokingly. You are still joking at this time. Wang Xiaoyan's face was red, and the atmosphere eased a lot. She was waiting to say something, but Fatty Li had already done everything. Brother, it's all done. Fatty Li also understood that Yang Ming must be doing something very dangerous. He said with a dignified face, I won't say anything unnecessary. If we can escape this time, Fatty Li, we'll owe you a life. Yang Ming smiled and got in the car. He was afraid that Wang Xiaoyan would regret, so he quickly started the car and rushed forward. To be honest, Yang Ming's calmness was actually just to comfort Wang Xiaoyan. At this moment, his heart was still very nervous. After all, this was the first time for him to play this kind of difficult game. The range of the rocket launcher was obviously much farther than that of the pistol. In other words, within a certain distance, Yang Ming couldn't kill the other party, but the other party could easily kill him. Yang Ming held the steering wheel in one hand and the pistol in the other. His palm was soaked with sweat. Yang Ming could only keep wiping on his clothes to prevent his hand from slipping and not holding the pistol. The effective range of the pistol was generally 50 meters, and the maximum range was only about 100 meters. However, after more than 50 meters, it was difficult to ensure the accuracy of the bullet trajectory. Yang Ming couldn't shoot at a distance of 50 meters. The effective range of the small rocket launcher in the other party's hand was at least 200 meters, so Yang Ming was likely not to drive to 50 meters away from the target, and the other party would shoot first. Yang Ming took advantage of the time while driving and fired a shot outside the car, regardless of whether the other party could hear the sound or not. Now, the exchange of fire between the two sides was basically obvious. The other party must have understood the gap between Fatty Li and him. Because for such a long time, Scorpion had not contacted He Lao San, which had already explained the problem. Yang Ming had been watching the direction and approximate distance of the bullet with his peripheral vision. Yang Ming wanted to remember the trajectory and the maximum range of the bullet after the bullet was fired from the gun for 50 meters as soon as possible. Generally speaking, the trajectory of the bullet fired from the same pistol was similar. As long as Yang Ming figured out the pattern of one of the shots, the next step would be easy. He just needed to aim at the target according to the direction of the bullet trajectory. 300 meters. Yang Ming's breathing became rapid. This was really risking his life. Yang Ming couldn't not be nervous. Originally, when he killed people, it was basically a one-sided massacre. It was difficult to have such a critical moment. 200 meters. Yang Ming didn't care much about the reactions of other people at the roadblock, but he always paid attention to the movements of the two people with rocket launchers in the truck. Fortunately, it seemed that they didn't mean to fire now. This made Yang Ming's nervous mood slightly relax, but he didn't dare to be careless. Who knew what might happen? 150 meters. Yang Ming saw a person at the roadblock answer a phone call, and then his face suddenly became gloomy. Then, he shouted a few words to the people in the military truck in Vietnamese that Yang Ming didn't understand. Then, the two people in the truck raised their rocket launchers at the same time and stood at the window of the truck's roof, ready to aim. Yang Ming's heart was suddenly shocked, and his heart suddenly jumped to his throat. Although he didn't know what the person said on the phone, it was certain that it should be related to Scorpion's death. Scorpion's death angered the people here, so they wanted to use the rocket launcher to end the battle before the car completely drove over. 150 meters was not the effective distance of a pistol. Although Yang Ming could jump out of the car now, everything would be in vain. In this unknown country and unknown jungle, Yang Ming was not the opponent of those people at all. The hot weapons in their hands were something that Yang Ming couldn't fight against with his body. 140 meters, 130 meters. One of the men holding the rocket launcher moved his finger as if he was ready to fire. Yang Ming's heart was suddenly shocked, but he didn't panic. Only 10 meters left. Only 10 meters left. Just a little more, and I will be in the range of the pistol soon. That is, I can reach it in about a second. However, time waits for no one. From when Yang Ming saw the man's finger start to move to when he pulled the trigger, it was only a short half a second. Yang Ming pushed open the door abruptly. When he jumped out of the car, he aimed at the fuel tank of the military truck and fired a shot. The action of firing the gun and jumping out of the car were completed at the same time without the slightest pause. Of course, this was only for Yang Ming. If it were another person, this effect would not be achieved. Because when Yang Ming fired the gun, he didn't need to deliberately aim with his line of sight. As long as he closed his eyes, he could clearly see the direction of the target. After Yang Ming jumped out of the car, his body quickly rolled to the jungle on the side of the road. With a loud bang, the Toyota 4500 that he was driving just now turned into a fireball in an instant. The hot airflow hurt Yang Ming's back. When the car exploded, the gravel and the dead branches with fire splashed on Yang Ming's body. It was burning, but Yang Ming didn't care about this at the moment. Looking at the military truck in the distance, there was also a sea of fire there. The corner of Yang Ming's mouth revealed a faint smile. He had succeeded. Just now, when Yang Ming jumped out of the car, he didn't have 100% confidence to shoot the other party's fuel tank. After all, the distance had reached the maximum range of the pistol. The accuracy and strength of the bullet itself were already not good enough. It was simply lucky to be able to shoot. Yang Ming looked at the sea of fire. The few people who were blown up were already unrecognizable. He smiled coldly. For the time being, they were safe. Yang Ming couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, it was more than a kilometer to walk back from here. Yang Ming shook his head, stood up, and walked in the direction behind him. After Yang Ming left, Wang Xiaoyan had been nervously staring at the direction where Yang Ming left. The path in the jungle was straight, and there were no obstacles. At this time, it was not completely bright. Wang Xiaoyan could clearly see the taillights of Yang Ming's car. Wang Xiaoyan's mood had never been as nervous as it was today. Even when she ran away from home, she didn't have this feeling. This was the feeling of worrying about a person. Wang Xiaoyan had this feeling for the first time. Until this moment, Wang Xiaoyan understood that this might be the feeling of loving a person. Wang Xiaoyan couldn't imagine what she would do if something happened to Yang Ming.